What's up, San Diego?
This is San Diego sports. The wins, the losses, the moments that matter, and the opinions that come with them.
Padres have clinched the playoffs in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 05 and 06.
No hype, no filter. Just the truth about your teams, your city, and the people who care about it most.
The reality is the expectations are higher now for this club than they were in 2019 and 2020 when the Padres hadn't made the playoffs that many times.
He's been here. He knows this city. And now he's leading the conversation every single day. Live and local on 97.3 The Fan.
This is fun. We're doing this for fun. This is fun. Have fun. Enjoy the fun with us having fun.
Now, here's Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego, and a happy Friday. It's Friday. Happy Friday to everybody out there in America's finest city. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Talk a lot of Padres baseball today. We're going to talk about a lot of baseball in general. We're going to talk some Aztecs football later on. 5 things to watch for in camp as we continue and get ready for the college football season. ESPN had an article out there about ranking every team in college football going into the season. San Diego State getting a little bit of love, considering the circumstances of them being a group of 6 school. Actually, they're getting some national love. Could be a potential playoff team representing the group of 6. Maybe. We'll talk about that later on in the show. Drake Hills will join us at 1:35. We'll talk about San Diego FC's win a couple of days ago. And, of course, we'll dive into an NFL training camp report, as we have had a couple of games last night, 6 games in particular last night in the preseason. And, again, like the preseason stuff, you know, it's good to have football on, in my opinion. I enjoy having football on in the background while I'm working on football, during the football season, coaching high school football. It's good to have it back. It gives you that sense of fall, right? I love this part of the year is my favorite part of the year, this August, September, October part. I used to not really think that as a kid. Like when you're a kid, you love the summertime, because you're out of school, right? You love the summertime. You love being on summer vacation, being able to do what you want, not having to go to school, not having to do homework. It's fantastic. When you get to become an adult and you don't have to do homework anymore, there's other seasons. There's other parts of the year that you end up finding and loving and enjoying a lot more. For me, it's right now. Now, this is my busiest time of the year. I appreciate the shout out yesterday from Chris Ello about giving me some props of being the hardest working man and that he knows. I appreciate that. Everybody here at 97 through the Fan works incredibly hard, and everybody does other things outside of just on the air here. And it based on just on all the stories that our hosts say, but all of our hosts are involved in something else other than just this radio station. A lot of it is very much community-based. And for me, I coach high school football because I love coaching high school football. I get a little stipend to do it. That definitely does not, equate to a lot of monetary value when it comes to the hours you put into it. It's basically like doing it for free, but I love it. I love that I help out my school that I went to, but also with play-by-play with USD and this and maybe some other things now coming up on the horizon. It's fun and it's very busy. It's a very busy time, but I love the fall. I love this kind of early part of the football season. It's better when you get to regular season games, of course, but you got the playoff push for baseball. You're going to get playoff baseball coming up here in the next month or so. Coming up in October, obviously, as you grind through. And September is going to be a lot of playoff level baseball, I think, in Major League Baseball. But you got that. You got football on. You got college football. I think the first couple of weeks of college football are always the best. Always fun to watch. It starts to cool off a little bit. Maybe not as much here in San Diego. I'm sure it's even better in other parts of the world, but in other parts of the country, you get the fall, the leaves change, everything like that. But we're starting to get into the fall a little bit, which is fantastic. Now, I will say this. I think it's a little bit too early to start putting up Halloween decorations. I think it's a little bit early to start doing certain fall things, right? Like I'm gonna tell you right now, like my dad enjoys a pumpkin spice latte. He enjoys some pumpkin spice. He has a rule where he cannot have it until the Sunday of Labor Day weekend. I feel like that's a fair time to really start diving into fall. At that point, everybody's in school. Now, everybody's in school probably already, but you got the kids in school. You got football right there ready to start that week. That Thursday is usually when we got the NFL up and running, although it's on a Wednesday this year that they're going to start. But the fall season is something to be excited for, and it's right here on the horizon. Now, my friend this morning, she was like, "Oh, I'm drinking my coffee out of my fall cup," and I'm like, "It's not. You're a little early. You're a little early." She said, "Let me live." I said, "Okay, fine. You could go ahead and be early, as long as it's not super early with the Christmas stuff. If I have to start seeing Christmas stuff before Halloween, I'm gonna lose my mind." The fall season's great. It's one of my favorite seasons. I would imagine, if I had to guess, Frank, your favorite season would be winter. Or do you like the fall? Yeah, you like just to be frigid.
Mm-hmm.
You like the fall?
It's all right. Fall's not bad.
Why is winter superior for you?
Because I get to live in my element.
No,
I get to be.
What are you, the snow miser?
I get to be Ann Polar Bear. I get to be happy. It's a lot easier to warm up. It's a lot easier to warm up than it is to cool down. So I prefer the winter for that. I'm sitting somewhere sweating is the worst thing imaginable.
If I had to rank the seasons, it would be fall, and then it would be probably summer, and then it'd be spring, and winter would probably be the last one. And here's my thing about winter. I don't mind winter in December. It's the February winter that I just go, this sucks. This is the worst. This is the worst month of all time. It's the like after, probably 2 weeks in it. It's probably the last 2 weeks of January into all of February, the worst 6 weeks. Worst 6 weeks of the calendar year. Because you're not at baseball yet. You're in the middle of seasons for hockey and the NBA before it really starts getting geared up. You don't have football anymore. It's the two worst. It's the 6 worst weeks. 6 worst weeks. I agree with Jake Waters in the chat, though. San Diego people talking about winter should be against the law because we're so blessed here to not have to deal with actual winter. Now, Frank gets a pass because he actually understands and has lived in actual winter. But for people like here in San Diego that haven't dealt with serious winter, Midwest winter, Northeast winter, I think it's kind of hard for me to believe that, like, oh, I love the winter. It's like a little chill. It's nice. It's like 55 degrees. Excuse me? No, absolutely not. I couldn't live in like places that actually got real snow. I mean, I could. I would just not like it. I don't want to shovel snow. I don't want to get bundled up like this to then have to take it off every time I get inside. I don't want to do that all the time. I'll do it for Army, Navy, and all those cold places we go to for like a weekend. I don't want to do that for like months. It's just too much. It's just too much. Anyway, Field of Dreams game last night. Before we dive into Padres baseball, did not watch it because it was on Netflix. I did watch the highlights of it. Did you see how large their score bug was?
I didn't think it was all that large.
It was gigantic, Frank. What are you talking? Thing took up like the bottom corner of the screen. It was ridiculous. It was big, Frank.
Yeah, now I'm seeing it again.
It was huge. Ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
And you know why it's so big is because they had to put Netflix on the thing.
I saw a tweet. It was like, anybody know what channel this is on? Anybody tell me what channel this is? It's Netflix. And they got so much flack from the first one. That's why they had to like update it. They had to make the change to the Field of Dreams game. That thing has taken up like the entire infield grass when you have the center field cam shot.
Another thing. Your Netflix. You don't have to abide by any like sponsor nonsense, whatever. You don't have to do that. You could do whatever you want with this score bug. Why not help it fit the Field of Dreams theme
Like Fox did.
and just go all in with it?
Like Fox did. Remember when Fox had the Yankees White Sox? They had the old school logos on there. Now the Yankees logo is still the same. It's never changed. But they had like the green scoreboard. It looked like the scoreboard that they were manually changing out in the outfield. It was great. It matched the theme of the behind the the padding, everything like that. It fit the deal. This looks like it just it's like the bad bug that they put on like MLB The Show.
Yes.
To like replicate what the bugs look like for a TV broadcast. It's terrible. Now, the actual broadcast was good. They had Matty V on the call. It's kind of hard to screw up a Matty V game because he's elite. But there was a couple things that I thought was funny about the game. The Netflix bug was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. The other thing that I think is funny about it's just ironic, really. It's the movie Field of Dreams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is basically like the purgatory for the Black Sox scandal, right? They're stuck there. They're trying to like get out. And they had the Black Sox scandal, right, of betting on games. That's why they were stuck in this like Field of Dreams purgatory, right? You follow me so far?
Yes.
So that whole thing's around illegal gambling and gambling on sports. And you're doing this Field of Dreams game, which is based off the movie. Yet you have like these gigantic signages for Poly Market and for FanDuel and for DraftKings, like all over the back fence, all over behind home plate. Like, yeah, I know like behind home plate was like changing their banner ads, but it was like, come on, man. I just, it's ironic, really.
And not a single person noticed it. Like, as far as like people who set it up, Major League Baseball, the people that worked there at the Field of Dreams, the people that did the signage for it, not a single person said, that's odd.
I bet you they did say it was odd.
I bet you not a single person made that correlation.
I do, because, you used to hang signs. You still do hang some signs.
Yes.
You got to, there's somebody like you, Frank, that's hanging this going like, this makes no sense. I mean, you still have to hang the sign. It's not like, if you didn't like the sign, Frank, that you were hanging at Snapdragon Stadium, were you going to call it, we can't hang this? No, you're going to be like, this is dumb. Why are we hanging this thing? You're like, that's what they want. I guarantee there's some people like that. I understand why the context is different. You can gamble on sports now, everything like that. It's kind of funny to me that they decided that's like it's just ironic. Now, in terms of like the overall game, Phillies kicked the living daylights out of the Twins. The Twins aren't very good. Twins are battling for a playoff spot, even though they're 3 or 4 games under 500. A couple of things with the Field of Dreams game that I think would make it better. One, it would be nice to have a couple of teams play there. I think. I also think the fact that you only play one game is kind of ridiculous. I don't know why, Frank. Like when they do the series in Mexico and in London, right? Like it's 2 games, and both teams are the home team once. I don't know why you just don't do that with this game. I like, why not play at least one? Like I know they played the minor league game there, but you're putting all of this time, money, and effort into the stadium, and you're going to play there once. And then you're going to make these guys travel back up to Minnesota? I mean, it's probably a big reason why. And then they announced that the Royals and the Red Sox are going to be playing at the Field of Dreams game next year, right? And Frank's like, why do they always pick a team that's good and a team that's very, like, irrelevant? Well, the irrelevant team, again, goes back to our diss on the American League Central for being the most boring product on the planet, as almost every American League Central team has played in this game. But they pick teams that are close to Iowa. So you could go there, you play one game at the Field of Dreams, and then you finish the series in Minnesota, in Kansas City, in Chicago, right? Why not play like a game each there? You already do these random 2-game series. Like that's what you got to put at the Field of Dreams game, I would imagine. And don't tell me it's like, let's have local teams kind of draw. The tickets are like $2,000 a pop. I think the announced attendance was 7,100 and something. They hold 8,000 there. They still sold the game out.
Let's have local teams draw.
Like the local team draw there. I mean, Iowa.
No one goes to White Sox Royals games. No one. What do you mean the local team's going to draw?
That's because they don't want to go to those stadiums. They'd go to the Field of Dreams, though. Plus, Iowa is the base of like 7 teams, as by their blackouts that they have. There's like 7 teams that black out Iowa. They'd get to watch them in person for the first time. But again, like they need a. I think they could make this a big deal and like load it up and have a couple of games there.
Announced attendance was official attendance was 7,163.
Yeah, 7,100.
Yeah.
They can hold 8,000. They sold all 8,000 tickets. I think a lot of them were just available. People were posting like up until like first pitch, they were still going for like $800 a pop. I mean, I'd love to go to that. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be cool to watch the Padres play in that game, but $800. I don't know how cool that is. I just feel like, they have all that land out there. They have all this cornfield. They could build a hotel. They could build. I mean, if they're going to invest in this thing, I think you got to make it more than just one game, because I think it's a lot of effort just for one game. Maybe it makes sense on their margins, but I know they built a complex over there, so I know they're using this for like travel ball tournaments and stuff like that, which is great. And I'm sure it's doing great in terms of tourism for the local community over there in Iowa. But I just feel like it needs to be played a little bit more than just once. 2 games there I think would be great. I mean, you're bringing everybody out there. You have this whole hype, the pregame, whatever. I get that you could do that for football. For baseball, Frank, I just feel like just more than one game would be great.
Like the Speedway Classic last year. That's one you kind of understand. That's a one shot. That's a one game deal. Playing a baseball game inside of a racetrack.
Yeah, you don't want to play multiple games there for sure.
This is a purpose-built stadium for baseball. Give it a series or give it a 2-game set. To use it once, especially after you just put so much money in rebuilding the place, it makes no sense. It makes none.
Yeah, again, you play multiple games when you go internationally. I guess it's mostly for travel and stuff like that. But when you look at the overall satellite image of this area, I mean, there's a lot of spots you could probably improve upon the play. I mean, might as well do it big. I think this is a nice little feeling out of what they could do there. But I mean, they built this ballpark there in Dyersville, Iowa. And I know they have like a little like minor league team that plays there. Dyersville Dreamers Baseball Club plays there or whatever. But they could totally make something happen over there. I mean, it's just a bunch of cornfields. Like, put in a hotel that is good for Major League Baseball players, because they built a massive complex of fields over there that they could just be having tournaments all the time for like little league kids. I mean, they already do all the Cooperstown stuff. Might as well play another game there. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Padres. They didn't have a game yesterday. Dodgers lost, which is interesting that we're going to talk about later on in the show. But are the Padres actually becoming one of the most dangerous playoff teams in the National League? Or are we just getting carried away by a hot 6-week stretch? We'll answer that question when we come back, as we just get started here on the Braden Surprenant Show. Saturday Summer Sports Station, 97.3 The Fan. 1024, broadcasting live from the Bill Allen Studios. We know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant, the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I appreciated Elo giving the updates of me driving up to Santa Ana yesterday. He didn't think I had any chance of making it up there in time. Santa Ana's not Los Angeles. It's Orange County. It's not that far away. I think I spent an hour and a half in the car. It wasn't even that bad. And I got stuck in traffic a little bit in Carlsbad when a big rig broke down. But it was pretty smooth sailing up there. It's great. Anyway. Pretty good. Yeah, no. He made it sound like I was flying up there. I was not. I couldn't really get that fast. I couldn't get the RPMs that quick with people in the way, Frank. That's kind of how it works driving up to Orange County. But overall, scrimmage went well against Modern Day. All three levels got the work in that you needed. Off next week. First week of high school football is next week. There'll be scrimmages going on again today throughout the county. First week of high school football, as I mentioned, next week. We'll have a couple previews for you next week as we talk about it. But overall, good showing yesterday for the Dons. And it was good. Let's get to some Padres stuff, okay? And I thought AJ Casville wrote a good article yesterday about this playoff push that the Padres have, and I think it leads to the question. It leads to the question of, did the Padres just become the team that nobody wants to face in October? And when you think about teams that you don't want to face in October, you're talking about teams that have a really good bullpen, teams that have hot offenses, and teams that have solid starting pitching. Those are the teams that you don't want to play in October, right, Frank? I don't think a lot of teams want to play Milwaukee because of Mizorowski. I don't think a lot of teams want to play the Cubs because they can slug at a high level. Mm-hmm. The Padres right now arguably have one of the best bullpens in Major League Baseball that I think if they make the playoffs, nobody's going to want to see that bullpen, because you give up a lead early in the game, you're only playing a 7-inning game. And I think a lot of teams understand that. And then for much of the season, the Padres were using their bullpen because they had to, because the rotation wasn't giving them enough innings. So you had to use guys all the time because of lack of starting pitching. But now the bullpen can be used aggressively by choice because of the fact that you can go out there and win games earlier. You got Mason Miller, Adrian Morejon, Bradley Rodriguez, deep middle inning options for this team. And the Arizona finale earlier this week demonstrated what that could look like. I mean, Craig Stammen had a lot of playoff level managed games, I would say, in the last week. And he used his 4 best relievers over the final 5 innings. I mean, that's what you're going to do in October. And when you have a bullpen that is that strong, you're not asking the starters to do a ton. And I think you have the right starting staff, Frank, that is good enough to get you the 4 or 5 innings that you need, so then you can use the bullpen for the last 4 or 5 innings. And now you're shortening the game even more when you're the San Diego Padres, and I think that makes you a dangerous team in October.
Yeah, with the way this offense has also performed as well, you don't have that same sense of dread that you had in May and June of oh, we're down by 2 runs, this is it. You now have that ability, and that's why Wednesday, win or lose, Wednesday was a telling game. It was the turning point of the season. You could really see that even when they got behind, they didn't give up, and you never thought they were out of it. And when they came back and tied the game the way they did on Wednesday, you're like, okay, this team's for real. Win or lose, this team is for real. They ended up winning that game. So I think it is becoming one of those teams. I think they need to show a little bit more, and they need to show they can sustain this. I know winning 15 out of 20 is a lot, but they need to show that they can sustain this instead of showing, we can do this for a short stretch and then potentially fall off again. If they could keep this type of play up and keep this momentum up, there are going to be losing streaks in there for sure. But if they can keep this up all the way through the end of the season, you're darn right I'm not going to want to see this team in the postseason.
And the rotation, to go back to it, I mean, it looks legitimate. It is not the best rotation in baseball, and it is not going to be a rotation that you're necessarily super afraid of. But what makes it a tough rotation to deal with is the fact that they are not being asked, and they will not be asked, to have to carry this pitching staff in October because of how good the bullpen is. And when you're looking at Michael King and Casey Mize and Robbie Ray, even Walker Buehler, Randy Vasquez, potentially Joe Musgrove, this is a rotation that can get you to the postseason, but also one where if you ask them to only get you like 4 or 5 innings, it becomes a lot more of a legit rotation than you initially anticipated, or on top of that, what you thought was going to be the rotation because of injuries and how they've played at the beginning of the season. I mean, you got King, that is, a very reliable piece. He gives the Padres a legitimate top of the rotation presence. I don't necessarily know if he's ace type level, but if you only need him to go 4 or 5 innings, that's a pretty good number one. You've got depth too with Walker Buehler. I mean, he just delivered 6 innings of 1-run ball against Milwaukee, which allowed San Diego to preserve its bullpen. And if Walker Buehler can consistently look like that version of himself, add in Casey Mize and Robbie Ray, who neither have completely settled into their Padres identity yet. And, they both have proven track records. That's different from asking somebody to simply eat innings. I mean, now you have like weapons out there in the starting rotation, which I think leads to this bullpen being even more dominant in the postseason. And so now you have the bullpen that kind of benefits the starting staff. You have a legitimate pitching staff that can win you games in October. And then that leads to the offense, which has become deep enough now to change how you manage a lot of these games. And it might be the most underrated development of this Padres team. The Padres aren't just relying on, the top of the order, Machado and Tatis, Merrill, to hit home runs and to create a lot of offense. You're getting important contributors like a Luis Rengifo, like a Ty France. Your catching situation with Luis Camposan and Freddie Fermin has improved dramatically on the offensive side. Austin Hayes, in a very small sample size, has mattered immediately as a guy that can tag left-handed pitching. Plus you still have, Gavin Sheets potentially in the mix, and hopefully he can play with his plantar fasciitis. But, earlier in the season, the Padres needed their pitching to keep games close because they couldn't consistently score. And now they are capable of putting crooked numbers on the board. And Tuesday this week was the perfect example. They had 5 runs by the second inning, and that allowed Buehler to simply manage the game rather than have Stammen deploy the bullpen early. This team is a team now that is built to win in October. There's a couple of more aspects to that we want to talk about, but the Dodgers lost last night. The lead is still 8 games, but the way the Padres are playing, the way the Dodgers are playing, are the Padres good enough to potentially win the NL West? Or should the goal be simply getting into October? We'll talk about that next. 10:40 on a Friday. Padres baseball resumes tonight against the Cleveland Guardians. We'll get a full preview of that in the 1 o'clock hour. All of our guests join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bank Banking, it's better. And joining us at 12:35 today, we got Bernie Wilson, formerly of the AP, in retirement, still covering, still doing a lot of stuff, but he's also doing some stuff for SI to cover San Diego State Aztec football. So he'll be on talking a little Aztec football, a little preview of the season, little camp talk, if you will. We'll get to that at 12:35. Drake Hills will join us at 1:35 to finish up the show. And we'll talk mostly Padres baseball today, although we got a lot of other things that we want to get to as well. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We're going to get out to the phones. Also, get out to Ron in La Mesa. Ron, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Hey, Frank. Welcome back, buddy. I'm glad you're feeling better. I just don't have enough dirt on Kyle yet to give him stuff. And with you not being there, it just takes away over half of my take. So welcome back, buddy. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much.
Braden, a couple things. Braden, a couple things, and you may cover it later. Even thinking ahead a little bit with the pitching staff, with Musgrove coming back, I could see a lot of pitching chaos in the playoffs with maybe Joe not even starting and being kind of a long reliever. It gives them so many other options, and I'm kind of wondering what they're going to do once he comes back with the rest of the staff and see who goes down. I think Griffin Cannon's probably got to go away. But I'm really excited now to see what they could do when we've got all three engines running at once. And Braden, just to finish up here, I got to tell you, buddy, I can't talk anything about K-State. I had to sign an NDA a la Deion Sanders at K-State where I can't talk about anything doing football, basketball, bathroom breaks, eating, or whatever else Deion said we couldn't do. So 11-14's etched in my mind, buddy. We'll see you then.
All right,
Take care, guys. Have a great weekend.
We'll be the Purple Bowl in the Big 12. We appreciate the call from Ron in La Mesa. We were so busy talking about Jaden Daniels and how stupid the number 5 thing. I mean, what a weird hill to die on, by the way. And I don't even know if it's him. It could be his agent, which is his mom. But the number 5 thing has been crazy with Jaden Daniels. And by the way, the kid Pickett, whatever his name is, that's the DB that is that wants to keep the number 5. He's already doubling down. I ain't giving the number up now. I mean, it's just a weird hill to die on. But that has distracted us from another story that we didn't even get to. Frank, did you see the Colorado Buffalo media rules? Did you see that? You didn't see that?
No.
Let me tell you, this is fantastic that we allow, this is what we're doing. So from Tony Farmer on social media, he got a hold of this. Colorado Buffs football told media that nothing from practice can be reported. Reporters may not take notes, have their devices with them, or report on the practice afterwards. So here's the rules that they handed out to their media members to cover Colorado football.
What's the point of having?
It's going to get better for you. I want you to listen to this. I want you to listen to this as I am the AI voice telling you, reading the email for you. This is an email that these guys got, the media members that cover Colorado. Football open practice at Franklin Field on Thursday, August 13th. So this happened yesterday. This will run very much like Tuesdays did. There will not be an open photo window, and the same rules will apply. Since there's no media availability afterward, we won't hold your backpacks, and we're asking to leave any phone or devices in your cars. If you forget or have need to not leave them in your cars, we will bag them upon entry and return them upon exit, similar to the process for the public. You may have seen on social media the public entrance move from the northwest to southwest corner, blah, 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 but we still have the media entrance lot, yada, 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 yada. The Folsom parking garage is the primary lot, and overflow lot is 436. Garage closer to the CU Event Center. You need to pay at both locations. So you do have to pay to park to go cover this, and you can't bring your phone inside. No documentation of any kind. Here it is. You are not allowed. No note-taking of any kind, written, typed, Dictated or otherwise. No photography, videography, audio recording, sketching, or diagramming. No live coverage, live posting, or real-time updates of any kind during practice. No reporting. The following may not be reported or characterized in any way during or after practice. This list is illustrative, not exhaustive. Injuries, player participation status, limited or modified participation, or the presence of any player in non-contact jersey. You cannot talk about the depth chart, rotations, personnel groupings, or position changes, offense or defensive schemes, formations, alignments, play calls, signals, or terminology, trick plays, special teams looks, or situational packages, individual player performance in team or competitive periods, any tactical, strategic, or personal information of any kind. Some of that makes some sense, but not all of it. This
stuff
practice...
if I were covering a team, like if they ran a trick play in practice, I'm not going to put in the thing. It's like, oh my God, they ran a new trick play today. Like I would never write that.
We're going to get to the breakdown of this in a second. Observation only. This practice is open for viewing purposes only. It is closed for all reporting, recording, and documentation purposes. Nothing observed at practice may be reported, published, posted, broadcast, or otherwise shared in any form or any platform anytime. No cell phones, tablets, cameras, video equipment, audio recorders, Meta smart glasses, and any other recording-capable devices are prohibited. Devices will be bagged and stored and returned upon leaving. This applies to all attendees, including credentialed media. This is where the backpack will come into play. If you just leave your phones and all other devices in your backpack upon arrival, we will have them back to you when you get to room 319 for media availability, if there is any. That is ordered in order to cover the mediocre Colorado Buffaloes.
All right. What you're about to hear right now.
You have to pay to park to cover them. When you go, you are allowed to watch practice, but you cannot tell anybody what actually happens at the practice. You cannot write about it. You cannot take notes about it. You cannot film anything. And you are expected to cover this team. I would say kindly kick rocks.
This is what you're hearing is in my head right now as I write this email to Colorado as a Colorado Buffaloes football sports writer. Dear to whom it may concern. Next time, I suggest you write a list of what I can report on because I feel it would have saved about 40 trees. I do have a question, since you said I can ask questions. What am I doing here if I can't write about the team you are paying me to write about? Kind regards, a former Colorado football writer. Send.
Here's my thing. Okay, this is a very simple thing that Colorado could do, like every other team. Okay, like I've been watching TCU camp updates almost every single day since they started camp. And yesterday, or 2 days, I think it was 2 days ago, was the first part where media was only allowed there for the first 10 minutes, and then they had to leave because they were working on North Carolina stuff. That to me is fair.
That's understandable,
and
yes.
Fine, right? Like, just if there's anything you don't want filmed, just say nobody filmed this, or have them available to the media for certain things. But to ban all types of documentation for the entire thing and force these people to pay to park is so ridiculous.
I have never once seen a writer for a football team specifically go, yes, the Buffalo Bulls were trying out a new I formation package with the safety 2 steps to the right instead with the running back 2 steps to the right instead of 1. I've never seen a writer do that. Why would they feel the need to say that type of thing? Like, they put the obvious stuff in there. It's like, yeah, we know you can't do that. Like, we wouldn't do that.
But here's the thing, like most of these people are
I can't
doing
take a picture of the kid walking off the field, like just as a random shot. He could be doing anything. He'd be going in to go to the bathroom.
Well, my thing is, it's like if you have the practice open to fans too, it's like they all know this stuff, right? So, like if you're opening this to fans and the fans are there, you're taking their phones away. Are you're just gonna like what happens about the fans reporting on stuff? And that's where I like it's funny to me. You know, like the Cowboys were like the new defensive coordinator for the Cowboys was all upset about like he didn't want anybody filming his practice, as he was mad at the media for filming like at this open practice that all these fans are at. And it's like you have all these people here that have seen exactly what you've done. If you want to do something, quote, in private, maybe you don't do it during the open availability. It doesn't make any sense to me. And to limit what reporters have the ability to do, they need to do their job. Their job is covering the team. You could probably tell them, you know, there's certain things that you cannot film, and they'd probably respect that. But for them not to be able to take notes, or like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, let me like, what's the worst case scenario? Some media person has a notebook, and then they're not really football people. So then they're going to just like, what are they going to quickly draw up? What are they? The guy from The Longest Yard who's like trying to copy the plays down, and like, what are they going to do? Go bring it to Colorado State?
Yes.
They're going to go like, oh, look at this secret play Dion's running. Like, oh, man, they're going to beat your ass anyway, Dion. Everything's on tape.
They're gonna lose by 45 instead of 52. Come on, dude.
It's so ridiculous. I mean, if I was any media outlet, I would specifically be like, we're not covering Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to cover yourself and like you just like put out puff pieces all the time about how great you are when you guys go, 4-6 in your first 10 games, by all means, go ahead. People are not going to they're not going to buy into it. But I don't understand like how Adam texted. He's like, "Is this violate freedom of the press? If you invite these people here, but they're not allowed to do anything about it, you're not allowed to report on this. Come on."
And you can't even say you're a free attendee of a paid practice because you had to pay to park.
You had to pay to park. This team opens up the season at Georgia Tech. They probably are going to get smoked. Then they got Weber State, might be a win. They got Northwestern. Then they get in the Big 12 play, and good luck to them. This is like on top of, this is what I get. I get irritated with coaches sometimes. They're worried about things that do not matter. This does not matter. Every team in college football has got good coaches and good scouting. And the things that you run on tape are always going to, they know what you run. You're not hiding anything from anybody. I mean, this is a public university. I can't believe they can, I can't believe anybody would cover these guys. I mean, we're talking about a team that went 3-9 last year. 3-9.
I mean, if I were the newspaper, I'd pull everyone. If I were the UT and say
San Diego State did this?
Yeah, say San Diego State did this.
Like, good
I'm
luck.
sending all of my San Diego State people to USD.
Send them somewhere else.
Yeah, just okay. Bye. Like, you have officially become irrelevant now.
They won 3 games last year. They beat Matt Campbell. Got to save Penn State. Beat Matt Campbell last year at home. Ranked 22 Iowa State rolled into Boulder and lost to this team.
Penn State is going to finish 7-5 this year.
Yep. They beat Iowa State last year, Wyoming, and Delaware. 1-8 in conference.
Hey.
And this is the team that's like, don't film our stuff.
Those blue hens were pecking.
I think at this point they're tired of like any video coming out of practice where people confuse them for a high school team, which has happened a lot in Colorado.
Just take pictures of Dion's foot.
I wouldn't send anybody there to cover this team. I'd be like, go ahead, create your own noise if you want. When we come back, going back to Padres talk, we're going to talk about whether or not we think that they can compete for the division, if it even makes sense to even talk about that. We'll also hear from Craig Stammen from earlier today as well. 11 o'clock on a Friday. Hope you guys are all got a good weekend plans. Last couple of weekends of the summertime, of course. Now, summer doesn't officially end until September 21st. Fall solstice. I don't even think that's a real thing, but that's like when the first day of fall is. So, enjoy the summer time while you can. Although, this is around this time of the season where you're ready for the next season. That's how this thing works. Last couple of weeks of winter, you can't wait for spring. Last couple of weeks of spring, you can't wait for summer. Last couple of weeks of summer, you can't wait for fall. Last couple of weeks of fall, you're like, it's time to put on some sweater weather. Time to some sweater weather. Anyway. All right, let's get to something I want to talk about with the Padres. But I agree, like, just to kind of finish this with Colorado and how they're treating their media for no reason. If I was a media outlet in Denver or Boulder or anywhere else that potentially was supposed to cover the Buffs, we're not covering the team anymore in terms of being there. And every time they lose, we're destroying the team. We are just absolutely putting them in a body bag every time they lose, which, by the way, Georgia Tech might smoke them in the first game. But we'll see. All right. Here is the big question that we went to break with, and I think it's it. I don't want to nurse too much energy into this because it's still a ways away, but it's not crazy yet to think that the way that this Padres team is playing, and I get they've won 5 games in a row. They finally got the run differential in a positive spot. They've had a good last couple of weeks. Okay. It's a little bit of a hot stretch. They're only a half game in front of Philadelphia for the number 5 wild card spot. But did anybody watch the way the Dodgers lost yesterday? Was it your week to watch them?
No. That was actually last week.
Did you hear what happened in the Dodger game yesterday?
No.
So the Dodgers played the Brewers yesterday, and I kind of agree with one of my friends who was talking to a Dodger fan. They said, thanks for sweeping Milwaukee for us. So we can like climb up the leaderboard, try to get the 1 seed. He responded with, I don't know if that's a good thing because Milwaukee's not going to go on extended long losing streaks. They're probably going to take their anger out on the Dodgers. So yesterday, Dodgers and Brewers. The Dodgers just choked it away yesterday. But it was even like at the beginning of the game, the Brewers got the first couple of runs due to a Roki Sasaki walking somebody in with the bases loaded. If you look at the scoring plays, Joey Ortiz walked to score Gary Sanchez to make it 1-0. In that same inning, David Hamilton walked that scored Andrew Vaughn, and the Milwaukee Brewers had a 2-0 lead in the fourth because Sasaki walked in 2 batters with the bases loaded. Dodgers then put up 4 runs in the 5th and 6th inning, 1 in the 5th and 3 in the 6th. They had a 4-2 lead going into the 9th inning. 9th inning, not great. Not great for LA. They had a 2-run lead in the 9th inning, and Milwaukee, this is how the 9th inning went for Milwaukee. They brought Edwin Diaz in to replace Tanner Scott. Edwin Diaz strikes out William Contreras. So they're 2 outs away from winning and extending the losing streak for the Milwaukee Brewers. Joey Ortiz, single. David Hamilton, single. Jackson Chourio, single. Makes it 4-3. Garrett Mitchell, single. Ties the game up at 4. Gary Sanchez strikes out, and now Alex Vesia is coming in to try to send this thing tied to the bottom of the inning, and he gives up a single to Jake Bauers to make it 5-4. He walks Andrew Vaughn, Christian Yelich grounds out, and the Brewers put up 3 runs in the top of the 9th inning. Fly out Mookie Betts, Max Muncy, punch out, Kyle Tucker fly out, and the Brewers get the job done. With the win from Milwaukee, it gives the Dodgers an 8-game lead on the Padres, which is still a lot. But this is a Dodgers team, Frank, that has been struggling over the last couple of weeks. They have not been playing good baseball. They've come back down to earth a little bit. They are currently the number 3 team in terms of the standings. And the way Arizona and the Padres have been playing and the way the Dodgers have been playing, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities that the Padres and the Diamondbacks put a little pressure on Arizona, on LA in the next couple of months, in the next 2 months, the remainder of really the month and a half, right? So in the last 40-something games, all of a sudden there might be a little bit closer of a deal. And the way this Dodger team is playing with the age that they have, they're showing that they're a little bit more human as of late than they had in the previous couple of months.
It's always a nice reminder when you see guys like Roki Sasaki and when you see guys like Edwin Diaz, from my perspective. Sometimes the best signing you make is the one that you don't make. Those two have fallen so far below expectations. Hiroki Sasaki had a good couple of months, and this has been a bump in the road for him, but he has been a disappointment a majority of his time in the major leagues. And Edwin Diaz going to Los Angeles, for me, didn't bother me. It's like, okay, that really stinks, but is what it is. What bothered me the most about the Edwin Diaz thing was when the Mets went there in April and the Dodgers basically rubbed it in their face, rubbed it in the Mets' face. Like, hey, we got Edwin Diaz with the video of I wanted to be on a winning team, and the other.
They do that for every one of the players they sign too.
That is such a low-brow thing for any organization to do. That is so childish, minor league, whatever. I don't think, though, they do look bad. They have looked horrible over these last couple of weeks. Until you get, I think, within 4 games, inside of 4 games, I don't think you can really say that they're fighting the Dodgers for the division. I think if you can really close that gap in, if you can get 3 to 4 games out before September, I think then you're really starting to put pressure on Los Angeles. Until then, your main focus should just be get to the postseason.
I think that needs to be the main focus too. I think that needs to be the main focus until what may happen in September. And I said it last year. I thought the Padres last year would miss by 3 games. I said that on a roundtable. I said they're going to make it close, and then it's just they're not going to get it done. They're going to miss it by 3 games. They ended up missing the division by 3 games. I don't think. I mean, the way the Padres have been playing, they're playing a lot better than what than how the Dodgers have been playing. But they're going to need some things to go right in order to even think about catching them right now. And I think the goal needs to be, let's distance ourselves from the rest of the wild card before we start talking about potentially catching Los Angeles. But if you look at just what LA has done as of late, I mean, it's been kind of tough sledding for them, really since the All-Star break. But if you look at their last, handful of games, dating back to their last game against the Mets, I mean, their last 17 games, they're 6-11 in their last, 17. I know they break it up like 15 games and 30 games. Last 15 games, they're 6-9. Okay, their last 30 games, I don't think it's that much better, if you will. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's about 15 right there. Their last, that's one more. Their last 30 games, if you will, the Dodgers are, let me see. Let it load real quick. Dodgers are 13-17 in their last 30 games. So they're not really going in the right direction right now. I know they're getting some reinforcements with some starting pitching. And if you look at their schedule, again, they got swept by Boston. They got swept by Chicago. They lost 2 out of 3 to Arizona. They got a break with Kansas City. They lose game 1 against Milwaukee, and they got 3 more games this weekend against the Brewers. Then they go to Colorado, and they got Pittsburgh, and then they got a road trip to Atlanta and Detroit. They got St. Louis, Washington, Cincinnati, at Miami, Cincinnati. They got the Giants twice with the Padres mixed in. If the Padres could make it, if they could cut the deficit in half going into September, I think you got a chance. But I agree with you, Frank. At this point, I think it needs to be a situation in which you're trying to get to October, and you got to be focused on yourself more than anybody else. But It's interesting to watch because I think Arizona and the Padres are playing a lot better baseball than the Dodgers are right now. And we're at the point where object and mirror is closer than it appears, I think is where we're at right now. It's not super close like in Jurassic Park yet. It's off in the distance. The Padres and the Diamondbacks are still off in the distance, but I think they make it where they have to battle in the last kind of month.
I think so too. And you play them in LA the second to last series of the season. So that could put a lot of pressure on Los Angeles. And you also have Arizona right after that at home. So those are going to be, you're starting the playoffs a week earlier than everyone else, effectively. But you cannot pay attention. You cannot pay attention to the Dodgers just yet. You have to focus on Arizona. You have to focus on Philadelphia. You have to focus on just making the postseason first. And once you get comfortable in a wild card spot, once you get a couple games safe in that wild card spot, then depending upon where you are in relation to the Dodgers, then you start to worry about them. Not right now, though.
I agree. I still think looking at the schedule, there's not too many teams that LA plays that you are worried about in the standings that you want them to win. Against Milwaukee, that's kind of a wash. It doesn't really matter. They're both division leaders. You don't care if they beat Colorado. The Pirates are so far out of it now. You don't really need the Dodgers to do damage against them either. Atlanta doesn't really affect you that much at this point in time. Detroit in the American League doesn't bother you. St. Louis has been kind of hanging around, but not really. Washington doesn't affect you. Cincinnati doesn't affect you. Miami, maybe. I mean, at that point, if Miami is still within like 2 games of you in the standings, you would probably want the Dodgers to beat up on Miami. But if you look at the teams they're playing, they're not playing anybody that's really in contention for the next, month and a half. I mean, their schedule definitely eases up a little bit. So they're gonna have enough time to get right before they play the Padres. But
they're also not playing horrifically bad either. They're 12-13 since the All-Star break. So they're playing 500 baseball, which is what the Padres were doing just a couple of months ago. The difference with them is they're such a juggernaut and they have such a star-studded team that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. When in reality, they're playing 500 baseball right now.
Yeah. And then as of the last 30 games, it's a little bit below 500, but you're starting to see some of the cracks in the armor up there in LA, and it leads to some other things that have been going on. And I'm gonna wait for more reports to come out about what's going on behind the scenes and how much it actually affects the Dodgers. But the Guggenheim Group has some issues right now, and Mark Walter has some issues right now. With the federal investigation about some of these fraudulent loan situation is basically what it is. And, without going into further, a lot of details, it's involving with insurance, and using kind of some mock loans of the insurance company that he owns and helping fund, the TV partner of the Dodgers and a little bit of the Dodgers. And there's some interesting things with that it is very complicated and not, really worth diving into too much on the show. It affects the Dodgers a little bit, but not to the level I think a lot of people are hoping it would be. But it is something to monitor. And that's something that's interesting, especially since, Mark Walter finds himself in a little bit of a sticky situation with money when it comes to this federal investigation, and hence why he probably sold the Los Angeles Lakers. And we'll wait on more reports about that. But, the Lakers sale has created a secondary question around the Dodgers about could Mark Walter eventually sell the Dodgers too if he's in this level of trouble. He currently leads Guggenheim Partners, which owns the Dodgers, and his Lakers sale has naturally prompted speculation about whether or not he is restructuring his sports holdings. That speculation matters because Shohei Ohtani has a contract clause in which he has a key man clause Ohtani's 10-year, $700 million Dodgers contract allows him to opt out if either Mark Walter leaves the organization or Andrew Friedman leaves the organization. According to a league source familiar with Ohtani thinking, Ohtani's not expected to exercise the clause even if Walter eventually sells the Dodgers. When Ohtani signed that with the Dodgers, the clause was essentially a safety net, and his reasoning was straightforward. He wanted to know that the people responsible for building the organization will remain in place, the people that signed him. Ohtani specifically viewed Walter and Friedman as the two people ultimately responsible for making the Dodgers remain a championship caliber organization, which I think is a good calculation by Shohei Ohtani. But the Dodgers have apparently demonstrated to Ohtani that the organizational structure is bigger than just the owner because of the way they've spent money and stuff. So it doesn't sound like that's something that is going to be pursued, but it is interesting that it is in a clause nonetheless, and you're having these dialogues, if you will. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire. So we'll see what happens with LA, but there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes right now with the Dodgers and the Lakers and, the Guggenheim Group, and most notably Mark Walters, that I'm sure there's going to be more information about.
Yeah, there's that clause in Ohtani's contract really came back to light yesterday, which is why so much of it has come around yesterday and today. I would be stunned if Shohei Ohtani leaves the Dodgers. I would be absolutely stunned. He had a chance to leave LA, didn't take it with Anaheim. He went up north to the Dodgers, and I don't see him leaving Los Angeles in any way, shape, or form. I don't understand. I mean, it's smart business on his part to have that clause in there, but to get yourself excited and riled up about this,
he's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. He's going to be a Dodger
unless they have to liquidate that entire team because of financial issues. I don't think he's going anywhere at all. 833-288-1973, 833-288-1973. When we come back, we're going to dive more into Padres baseball, obviously, but we talked about the key man clause for the Dodgers, but it's some good schedule playing out for the Padres in the next couple of weeks. They got some off days mixed in. How does that impact the club? We'll talk about it next. Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, standing as number one sports station, 97.3, The Fan. Where'd you go, Frank? There he is. Welcome back, buddy. YouTube people didn't know where Frank's mug was, nor his casings. Anyway, when's your race season start again?
I don't know. I do not know when it starts. I am doing broadcasting, though, now for them.
I know,
So-
yeah. You know what? It's more fun to watch you race than watch a bunch of other people race. But
No, that's fair.
we could put the link in.
That's absolutely fair, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think people get super gassed up to watch you race.
Yeah, for me, I'll be on the call every Saturday night, and
SATURDAY.
these next 2 Thursdays as well, I will be. And one that's not going to make my parents too happy.
Ah, yeah.
I was asked and agreed to do a race on Sunday, the 30th, at 6 in the morning.
Brutal.
Oops.
6 a.m.?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
See, this is where Europeans kind of stink, is because that's their normal nighttime. So
Well, don't you have European dudes broadcasting your
we
races?
yes, which stinks for them because it's 3 in the morning when they do it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about this upcoming schedule for the Padres. We got a 3-game series against Cleveland, starts tonight. And I think they have shifted from trying to stay alive to actual playoff threat now. And I think the biggest news of this is not the fact that they swept Milwaukee, but it's how they swept Milwaukee. And here's some stats for you. The Padres have completely changed their playoff outlook. They're now 65-57 on the year, NL's second wild card spot. They have won 15 of their last 19 games, 17 of 26 since the All-Star break. In fact, they are tied for the 4th best record in Major League Baseball since the All-Star break. They have climbed past 6 teams in the standings during that surge. Their postseason odds have gone from roughly 7% to better than 60%. They are back in playoff position for the first time since June 27th. And Wednesday's sweep of Milwaukee was especially significant because the Brewers entered the series with baseball's best record. I mean, a month ago, the Padres looked like a team that might be watching October from home, and now they're in position to control their own fate. We made some of the comparisons yesterday to the 2024 team, and they're starting to really show like they're the 2024 team. I mean, you could even start looking at some of the players being very similar. That 2024 team, we all kind of wrote off too around this time in the standings, this time in the calendar, right before the trade deadline, and then they went on a tear. And we kind of saw that they had a more beneficial schedule in the second half that they could take advantage of. But, I think the fact that the Padres players got on a little bit of a run right before the trade deadline and then forced AJ to really go after it, I think has changed the mindset of this team going into the final stretch of the season.
Yeah, they've done a fantastic job with it as well. The 2 guys they got haven't necessarily been lights out, but the team as a whole has taken that boost and have absolutely run with that momentum. You've seen, as we talked about yesterday, you saw on Wednesday where having a guy like Robbie Ray instead of having a Matt Waldron really benefits you in that 4th inning on Wednesday. So they have already made some sort of impact here. It's only a matter of time before they start pitching and having, 6 innings, 3 or 4 hits, 1 or 2 runs, and then just rolling. But yes, this team definitely forced the front office's hand, and they have repaid that trust in kind with how they've performed over the course of the last couple of weeks.
Now, Jake Cronenworth mentioned that they like this is a new group. Now we can go win, and I think that's a big psychological turning point to this team. But obviously, we talked about what has made this team from a survival team to a team that could do damage in the postseason. The big thing is, of course, the offense, which is the biggest turnaround. They were the league worst earlier. Now they're first in multiple offensive categories in the second half. And Wednesday showed that this is an offense that doesn't have to be super explosive all the time. They just gotta have timely hitting. They tied the game in the 8th inning the other day. They got a huge infield hit from Jake Cronenworth. They got a sacrifice fly from Jackson Merrill. They got a walk-off single from Luis Camposano. They took advantage of mistakes and opportunities and a way different identity. And I don't know if you noticed, ripping off some of those items right there of events that happened. Did you notice the fact that I used there was a different name every single time? I think that's a huge factor too to this offense.
Oh, it absolutely is. And can we address something really quick? Because I've seen it in the chat today. I've seen it in the chat yesterday about, swap Cronenworth and Manny in that spot and the game's over. Because Jake actually busted it out. I saw Jake 2 at-bats prior to that not run out a ground ball. So it's not a lack of effort. It's knowing when to use that effort is the difference. It's not, Manny's lazy. It's that situation right there called for maximum effort. And that's what Jake did. It's being smart about when you do use that maximum effort. And yes, many different guys have been a big part of this. It has been Manny, it has been Fernando, it has been Jackson, but it's also been Jake. It's been Ty France. It's been Austin Hayes in his short time here has gotten. Gage Workman had a big RBI hit in his debut. There have been contributions all over the field by everyone who has put on a Padre uniform over the course of the last couple months.
Luis Camposano's been a very interesting storyline here too. A lot of people in the YouTube chat wanted him cut before the season even started. I mean, he has had a huge turnaround. I mean, we're talking about a guy, and Elo mentioned it was 500 days or something like that, 530 something days, whatever it may be. In between 500 and 600 days where he didn't get a major league hit. And not only did he get the walk-off, I mean, he's hitting over 300. His quote, perfect, last year was last year, says a lot about where he is at mentally. And it's not about one walk-off hit that he got. I mean, this is a team with Luis Camposano that have really benefited from Camposano being in the lineup. And, I think they missed his presence when he was gone due to injury. I mean, they have another player contributing in a position that they desperately needed some production. It's not just Camposano, it's also Fermin. And the way Fermin has been able to contribute as well. I mean, the catching position has been great. Bullpen becoming a weapon. Padres winning close games. I mean, these are all recipes for success. And now they have some off days. Now they're not going to have to play more than 6 days in a row for the foreseeable future until about September, which I think is good news. Looking at sometimes you like to look at the Padres schedule in terms of travel. This is, I think, this is the last of their long road trips, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe this is the last of their East Coast trips. They go to Cleveland and then Flushing.
Right. They knock out the trip to they go to Tampa and Cincy one more time. Okay.
All right. So
but then after that, they stay on the West Coast. So there's 2 days in September, they're in Cincinnati. And then they got the Yankees and Nationals at home. Then they go to San Francisco. They go to Colorado, which is in the Mountain Time. That's it. I mean,
after that Cincinnati trip, you play one series outside of the Pacific Time Zone, and that's only the Mountain Time Zone.
And it's only the Mountain Time Zone in a place that you've played multiple times. And I think that's how they do it for a lot of teams. I think that's mostly division opponents late. Unfortunately, for Miami, they got to go to the West Coast near the end of the year, and there's probably some other teams like that. But the Padres get 3 East Coast teams at home in the month of September. They have to play 2 games in Cincinnati. That finish up a road trip that started in August, and then they got
September 7th, a holiday.
Yeah, that would be Labor Day.
Okay, so do we have a show on that day or no?
We shouldn't. Maybe that's not Labor. Yeah, that is Labor Day.
I was going to say, because if we don't, I just realized that game against the Nationals,
the 210. Yeah, it's
Labor Day 210. So we would have a shortened show that day. Anyway.
Yeah, you're off that day. That's Labor Day. You're off to celebrate you and your hard labor that you do. There you go. When we come back, Craig Stammen, the manager of the Padres, was on with Bennett Woods. We're going to hear from him when we return. Baseball coverage on 97 to the Fans presented by Xfinity. Score the most reliable Wi-Fi, one price, 5 years guaranteed. Xfinity, imagine that. We're going to get to our sports thread in just a second, but we do have a very important game today in Little League Baseball. Sweetwater Valley will be taking on Hawaii again, and the winner will be going to Williamsport. That game will start at 6 p.m. Pacific time. It will be on ESPN. Padre game tonight starts at what, 4 something?
4:10.
4:10. So hopefully by that time the Padres have knocked off. Hopefully they can have a quick victory over Cleveland tonight, and then you can go over to ESPN and check out Sweetwater Valley Little League as they will take on Hawaii. Winner take all game that will go to the to Williamsport in the Little League World Series representing the West region. That will be coming up at 6 o'clock on ESPN. So we got NFL football on, preseason football. We got Major League Baseball going on. We got the Little League World Series about to get started. Hopefully we can have a team here punch their ticket to Williamsport and represent San Diego out in the West and the West region in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Lots to get to in the sports world. So much so that we have to cover it for you in our sports thread. A lot more than just Padres baseball.
You know that group chat, the one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
All right, Frank, what we got going on today?
I'm not going to do a number gimmick for this one since this is going to be a kind of a standalone bit, but the San Diego Gulls, your San Diego Gulls, our San Diego Gulls.
Everybody's goals.
Not quite Ben Affleck, but where is Ben Affleck? Where did I move Ben Affleck?
Oh, no.
I know he's still here. I know for a fact he's still here. Where did I move Ben Affleck?
Man.
That's not good. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Okay. Here, Ben Affleck. I moved some stuff around in there, and I couldn't find him. I knew he was still there. The San Diego Gulls yesterday announced their promotional schedule for this upcoming season. Saturday night, October 10th, be your home opener, orange carpet tailgate. And there's also an Aloha shirt giveaway.
Wow.
There you go. October 21st against Coachella Valley will be a novel night out. That's interesting. I wonder what that could be. Faith and Family Night for San Jose. Halloween night. There, of course, will be a thing for Halloween. Sunday, November 1st against Colorado will be Dia de los Muertos celebration, a soccer jersey giveaway. There will also be a military appreciation night on November 11th with specialty jerseys as well. November 20th against Iowa. Braden, get your tickets now. Country music night. There will also be a Friday night concert brought to you by Viejas Casino and Resort. So that'll be fun. Gulls Fight Cancer Night will be November 24th. I don't know why they did this one, because I think it's been shown in the past that this has not been a good idea. On December 4th against Tucson will be Disco Night and Healthcare Industry Night. The only thing I could think of is the 70s baseball promotion Disco Night. That did not go well. I could. Hopefully they got something. Hopefully they got something ready for that. The big one, one of the big ones every single year for minor league hockey, especially, is the teddy bear toss.
Yes, teddy bear toss.
That will be for those of you who want to go to the teddy bear toss. Basically, it's after the first home goal is scored. Everyone throws teddy bears out onto the ice, and they go to the local children's hospitals in the area. That will be on December 19th against Coachella Valley. So Coachella Valley on December 19th, that will be Winter Wonderland and Teddy Bear Toss night. You will also get an ugly sweater koozie for that game as well. January 16th, also against Coachella Valley, will be Retro Rewind night. You'll also get a reversible bucket hat as well. This is not the one I was laughing at. January 26th will be Women in Sports night. That'll be against Bakersfield. This is the one I was laughing at. January 29th against Colorado will be Yacht Rock Music night.
Yacht rock music night.
Yep.
Wow.
Star Wars night will be on February 13th.
That's always a good one.
Ringside Rumble Wrestling night will be on March 7th. That's interesting. Kids Club and Youth Sports night will be on March 24th. First Responders night on March 29th. Native American Heritage night will be on March 20th against Abbotsford. Pride night will be on April 4th against Coachella Valley. And then Fan Appreciation night will be the final home game of the season on April 10th. They're doing a lot. They're going through all of like the musical genres as well. So there's disco night, pop night, retro rewind, yacht rock, emo night, reggae night as well. So it's a fun promotional schedule that the Gulls have this season.
Yeah, it should be a fun time. And Gulls hockey starts on what day?
The home opener is October 10th. That is the home opener. Season opener, I'm not sure.
We'll be closer to hockey season sooner than you think.
Absolutely.
Number 1.
This is the fun story. LSU cornerback DJ Pickett is standing firm on his wearing of the number 5, despite objections from former LSU quarterback.
He's standing on business?
Yes, he is standing on business. And Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels. Pickett says the number was promised to him during his recruitment and that he has worn it since he was 4 years old. LSU decided to stand firm with DJ Pickett today as the entire bloody roster wore number 5 for practice today. Could LSU have handled this a little bit differently before giving Pickett the number?
Well, Brian Kelly promised Pickett number 5. Brian Kelly then asked Jaden Daniels if he could give Pickett number 5, and Jaden Daniels said no. And so Pickett wore, 3 last year?
I believe so.
Right. So Pickett again asked now new coach Lane Kiffin, can I wear 5? It was promised to me last year. Lane Kiffin's like, okay, sounds good. I don't care. Wear number 5. It's promised to you. And then Jaden Daniels upset about it, or his team is upset about it, then starts popping off like, this is so disrespectful to our guy Jaden Daniels, and I can't believe anybody else would ever wear this number, and yada, 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 yada. And Lane Kiffin's like, I don't really care. I mean, if you're Lane Kiffin, isn't it better for you to make sure your current team and the players on your team are happy and not what a former quarterback thinks about a jersey?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, 100%. LSU's not in the wrong here. This is LSU. They could give jerseys out to whoever they want. I don't really care if Jaden Daniels doesn't like it. Go ahead, Jaden. Distance yourself from the school and see how it works out for you. I think they overplayed their hand. Okay? Dying on the hill of, I'm going to cut myself off from LSU because my jersey has been worn by another player is the dumbest S I've ever heard. It is a dumb hill to die on. You want to double down and die on that hill and just alienate yourself from LSU? Go for it, buddy, and see how it works out for you. All you're doing is pissing people off and making people not like you. That's it. And if it's your mom, it's time to tell mom, I'm going to handle this. This is not a big deal. You're overstepping your bounds. If it is, in fact, mom, who is his agent. And like his mom has raised a great kid. Jaden Daniels has stayed out of trouble. I know he had that thing with Arizona State where they kind of made fun of him after he left. Who knows what the inner workings are in the locker room as a teammate. But for the most part, he's been a pretty upstanding young man. She's done a great job. Now it's time for her to just relax. If this is the case. This is a stupid hill to die on if you're them. And if they're going to double down on this, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. They're going to win a stupid prize.
There's a reason why our moms aren't in chat.
Number 2.
Northwestern football is making a major financial push to keep pace in the Big Ten, receiving a $35 million football-focused gift over the next 3 years from the family of Liz and Dick Uhlheim. Sure.
Don't screw that name up.
The money will support recruiting, player development operations, and other investments designed to make the Wildcats more competitive nationally. The donation comes as Northwestern prepares to open its privately funded $850 million Ryan Field and recently added veteran coach Chip Kelly as offensive coordinator. After years of struggling to consistently compete in the Big Ten, Northwestern is clearly signaling that it is ready to invest heavily in football. In today's college football landscape, can a major financial investment like Northwestern's $35 million gift fundamentally change a program's trajectory, or will schools with deeper pockets and more consistent resources always still have the advantage?
What's $35 million going to do to Northwestern football? What's it going to do?
I don't know.
For 1 year?
They need 3 years.
They need over 3 years.
It's over a 3-year time frame.
So they're not getting 35 a year. They get a total of 35 million.
Yes.
That's not going to even move the needle at Northwestern in comparison to what they got. It's not. I mean, you got schools spending $60 million a year on players. What's an additional, what is that? I can't, like $12 million? Just around $12 million a year? I mean, yeah, $11.6 million a year. That's not going to do anything. Now, if Northwestern wanted to do that for another sport like baseball, they'd be a dominant baseball program.
Mm-hmm.
But right now with football, it's just the arms race. You're not going to win. It's all these schools that are winning these arms races have just tons of people donating amounts of money, not just one big, sugar daddy giving out a big check, because he can't do that every single year. It's these fans that have, it's these teams that have these gigantic fan bases where it just starts racking up funds. I mean, I saw a guy that went to Indiana for school, but he likes Texas football, and he is he's done well for himself. He's like, I don't have any connection to Texas, but I like Texas football. He gives all his money to Texas. He didn't give it to Indiana. Texas has the benefit of that because of for all those years they're on TV and doing things in the past. That is an idiot. Exactly. What a waste of time. They just won the national championship.
Number 3.
You could have had a national championship in your deal, but you're still believing in Texas.
Reds ace and former Padre shortlister Hunter Green will miss the rest of this season and all of next season after undergoing Tommy John surgery. Boy, speaking of trades that you make and trades that you don't, Green has already dealt with significant injuries throughout his career, including a previous Tommy John surgery in 2019 and elbow surgery earlier this season. Were the Reds right to keep him instead of pushing to move him? Harder to move him.
I mean, they obviously knew what was going on, for sure. If he would have had that happen immediately, I don't think they would have been able to trade him because the medicals probably wouldn't have been great for him, and teams would have been like, "Yeah, that's not going to work." I don't think it would have passed the physical.
Oh, his arm's about to fall off. Nah, you keep him.
I've heard from former GMs about conversations like that, about trade ideas, and they're like, "All right, dude, come on. We all know that guy's arm's going to fall off." Seriously, they don't know. Everybody's medicals know what's going on. A quick look at the medicals, don't trade for this guy. I think that's why things died down very quickly on the Hunter Green conversation. I think it was more of they knew he wasn't going to pass physical, and the Reds were like, "All right, we're just going to keep him then." I don't think they had a choice. I think if they could, they would have got rid of him. What did Craig Stammen say on the morning show? We'll talk about that to start the noon hour. No lunchtime hour on the Fan. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. Setting his number at Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. 2 hours in, 2 hours to go. We still got a lot to talk about Padres baseball. We got a preview of Padres and Guardians coming up later on. Drake Hills will join us at 1:35 to talk about San Diego FC. We'll have Bernie Wilson coming on at 12:35 to talk Aztec football, maybe a little bit of Padres as well. We're going to get you an NFL training camp report. We got lots to get to still on the show in the next couple of hours, so make your afternoon a part of our afternoon. Make our afternoon a part of your afternoon. Got only one baseball game live right now in Chicago. Cubs and Cardinals. They're scoreless in the bottom of the third inning. Looking at the standings right now after yesterday's results for the in Major League Baseball and how they affect the San Diego Padres. Yesterday's results, the biggest one, of course, is Philadelphia getting a win. And we talked about that yesterday and earlier in the show, but a half game back from San Diego for the number 5 seed. And again, Padres do not win the season tiebreaker against Philadelphia. So definitely rooting against Philly from here on out. They're off today because they're traveling to Minnesota after the deal.
How is that any different from what people should be doing
in
every
life?
day?
It's just always root against Philly.
Always root against Philly.
Yeah, they got LeBron there now. Now you definitely have to root against Philly and all their sports teams. The LeBron curse for all their teams. Although they didn't really work out for the Dodgers, with LeBron being part of LA. I digress. So that was the game that mattered. Pirates bounced back against Miami. They won 13-1 yesterday. That's a game that impacts, obviously, the race a little bit. Nationals beat the Cubs. That helps the Padres in trying to maybe track down Chicago/Milwaukee. I think that's going to be kind of hard. And then Milwaukee beat LA. If you're looking at the division closely, then you're excited about that. But if you're looking at the division from a perspective of the Padres need to focus on October 1st, it kind of helps you. It makes it only 8 games back now instead of whatever it was before. So I guess it helps in the grand scheme of things. In terms of the wild card standings for the Padres right now, they have a half-game lead on Philadelphia, a 1-game lead on Arizona, who's now on the outside looking in the wild card conversation due to Philly beating Minnesota yesterday. With the Cubs losing yesterday, they have a 6-game lead now on San Diego for the number 4 spot. It would be nice to track down that spot. I think we talked about it last year. I think the Padres playing the Cubs at home last year would have paid dividends. I think so, especially with how great our fans are here in San Diego and how electric Petco Park is. And with the home record that the Padres have being 11 games over 500 at home, it's obviously better to play at home than on the road. So that's something to monitor. In terms of like behind them now, like the Cardinals are 3 games behind, or the Marlins are 2.5 games back after the loss. So that helps. Cardinals are 3 games back. Washington 5, Cincinnati 5.5, Pittsburgh 6 games out of the wild card, which is generally surprising considering the start to the season they had, as well as the fact that they actually tried to improve their team this offseason, Frank, and with the starting pitching that they have. I know Paul Skeens is having a not so great year, which is obviously affecting this, but yeah, I'm a little surprised by the Pirates this year. I really am. I thought they would be a little bit better. I didn't necessarily think they'd be a playoff team. I thought they would just be on the outside looking in, but at this point, with the way they played at the beginning of the season to what they are now, Ryan O'Hearn is a huge loss for the Pirates. But 6 games back at this point, I didn't think that they were going to fall this far this fast.
Yeah, Ryan O'Hearn being hurt has hurt them. They didn't get anywhere remotely close to what they thought they were going to get out of Marcell Ozuna, who they've already DFA'd.
Ozuna no longer from the Pirates.
Yeah, and Ozuna not from the Bucks.
Formerly known as Ozuna from the Bucks.
The artist formerly known as.
Yeah.
They have the issues with Paul Skeens, I think, is hurting them a lot more because that's not a guaranteed win every single time he steps on the mound anymore. They're still getting decent enough from Mitch Keller. They're still getting decent enough production from Braxton Ashcraft, who shut the Marlins down yesterday. They walloped the Marlins yesterday. I think it was 13-1 was the final yesterday. So I think the fact that you've lost Ryan O'Hearn, and now you're seeing this decline from Paul Skeens, whether it's because he's just declining at an unreal pace to match his ascension, or if he is genuinely hurt and they just don't want to say it or admit it. There's more than just one big problem in Pittsburgh.
I agree with that. Absolutely. So, they have their offense has been really good. I mean, they got a plus 25 run differential this season. Their expected win loss right now should be 64 and 59 based on their run differential. But they're 59 and 64. It's almost it's the reciprocal of that. And they're playing 500 ball at home. And just they're awful on the road. And then they haven't done well against teams above 500 either. So, tough for the Pirates. I'm a little surprised by that. But looking at overall at the standings right now for San Diego, some decent results yesterday. Obviously, we hope the Phillies lose to Minnesota. They're off tonight. They'll be back in action tomorrow to continue their a 3-game set with Minnesota. So if the Padres win, there'll be another game in front of Philadelphia. In terms of games tonight that impact the San Diego Padres, Cardinals and Cubs a little bit. Obviously, you got the Cardinals behind you and the Cubs right in front of you. That's something to watch. I don't think you really need to pay attention to Pittsburgh games anymore with them being 6 games out. I think Miami is something, is a team that you should watch. They're going against Chase Burns tonight in the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, Chase Burns is 13-2 with a 2.61 ERA, and is very difficult to deal with. So hopefully he shuts down the Marlins, but they got Sandy Alcantara on the mound. It's a good pitching matchup tonight in Cincinnati, which will actually start at 3:10 Pacific time. Other matchups for you that are important, Atlanta and Arizona. Arizona's in Atlanta, and then they'll go to Boston on this road trip. This is very important for the Padres to get some wins here, because I think this is a tough stretch for Arizona, who just lost 2 out of 3 to Colorado, and that was like the first series win on the road that Colorado has had in a very long time. So the fact that the Diamondbacks lost 2 out of 3 to Colorado at home, hopefully Chris Sale and the Braves can shut down Brandon Pfaadt and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Sale this year 12-7 with a 2.20 ERA. That's a game to monitor tonight. And then, of course, Brewers and Dodgers a little bit. Both teams are in front of you in the standings, one in the National League West, one potentially in the National League wild card, depending on how the Cubs do against St. Louis. That's basically all there is in terms of like watching for games, which is different than like what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Frank. Like just a couple of weeks ago, the Padres had all these teams in front of them. You're watching a lot of different scores. Right now, you don't really have to lock in on as many games. I mean, and many teams, I think the Padres have distanced themselves from most of the National League in terms of the wild card. And now you're worried about Arizona and basically Philly and maybe Miami. And that's really it.
It's fun when you control your own destiny, isn't it? I mean, that's the big part about it, is you got less things you have to worry about when you have control over what happens to you.
I know. I do think it's nice being on the West Coast too and seeing results before you start the game. I think that's also kind of awesome. So we'll keep you obviously monitored on we'll keep you informed on all of these games that impact the San Diego Padres moving forward. We're going to play some of the Craig Stammen now, and then we're going to get to more in just a little bit. But Craig Stammen was on with Bennett Woods, part of our Manager's Report, which is brought to you by SDCCU. It's not big bank banking, it's better. And lots to discuss today with Craig Stammen. And of course, obviously, it's the first time that he has been on since the trade deadline. And so they asked Craig about, like, what's it mean to add a guy like Robbie Ray and Casey Mize, and what kind of message that sent to the team when they acquired 2 starting pitchers to help this team win.
Yeah, I would say so a little bit. It's always better to add players to your roster than take them away. There's no doubt about that. I think the way the guys were playing going into the trade deadline, I don't think it would have really mattered. They were feeling good about themselves. The offense was starting to click. We were, figuring out the pitching. But I do think like adding is definitely, a slight boost to everybody's confidence that, hey, we can do this. Now it's time to go. We've got some added pieces. The guys we lost have played a great, role on our team, in the time being, and we miss them. But we're glad to have Casey and Robbie on the squad right now.
No doubt. No doubt. Good to have them on the squad. And, even though that they haven't really like hit their stride yet, and we've only seen, 4 starts out of them combined, I think they both improved a little bit. I don't think we've seen them at their height yet. It's good to have those players. And I mentioned to you in the press box, we talked about it yesterday, Frank, but the difference between Robbie Ray potentially, struggling as opposed to some of these other pitchers that are not as talented as Robbie Ray. A starting pitcher like Robbie Ray that doesn't have a good day keeps you in the game. A struggling, a guy that is part of the rotation that's eating innings that doesn't have a bad day. I mean, you're behind the 8 ball and the game's over within 3 innings because those innings get very big. So even though we haven't seen Casey Mize and Robbie Ray at their best, they are still a massive improvement to this rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a massive message. It's a vote of confidence from the organization to go out and not just get guys at the trade deadline, but also to go out and get guys that are the quality of Casey Mize and Robbie Ray. And that, of course, has to make the players feel good.
Let's move on to something else with some of these pitchers. And again, I think it goes with the difficulty of getting these guys part of your team, and why maybe Casey Mize and why Robbie Ray haven't necessarily hit their stride yet with the Padres. It's because the difficulty of bringing some of these guys on at this point in the year. Here's what Craig Stammen had to say about onboarding some of these pitchers to this roster for the first time this late in the season.
Yeah, I think at least for the beginning of it is we got to let them be who they are. We don't know them as well as their previous teams do, and we don't know them as well as they know themselves. And so we kind of let them lead the way a little bit. We let them, kind of do their thing and pitch the way they want to pitch. And then we add in slowly, drip some of the stuff that we believe in, as Padres and as San Diego Padres pitching. We've been very successful in that side of the baseball, and we can add and supplement those little things to help them have even more success than what they've had in the past.
I think that goes to what Brian Lawrence was saying yesterday on the roundtable. What he thought about when he was coaching in the minor leagues for a little bit, that he knew and what he got out of coaching as a pitcher. I mean, he talked about how he knew himself the best. And he was blessed enough to have relatively the same pitching coach through most of the Padres organization, in which he knew, his pitching coach knew everything about him, and they'd seen him succeed, that he knew when something was off. You don't necessarily get that in a small amount of time. It takes time for you to learn a lot of your players, and for players to learn a little bit about you. And I think that matters when it comes to making adjustments, and having that relationship, that player-coach relationship. So it's not surprising to me that you kind of have to let them pitch a little bit before you can really make an adjustment or really help them out. But it just goes to show how important it is to have stability in a coaching staff, across the board. And it's for reasons like this. I mean, you get to know these players, and you've seen them at high levels and see them in successful outings. You know what to fix when things don't go wrong. But until you start to get to know these players, and now both these guys are on they're rentals. They're not guaranteed that they're going to be back here. It's a tough task for a guy like Ruben Niebla to really understand what makes these guys click and what doesn't.
Yeah, you need a guy. The best coach is one who knows you. So if they see something, like my grandfather told me the story all the time. Keith Hernandez, whenever he would be in a slump, his father would always call him and say, "Hey, listen, your arms down, you're standing too close, you're doing all these different things." And that would always break him out of a slump. So it's always nice to have somebody who knows you. And in this short amount of time, there's not a lot of time to do that. There's not a lot of time to learn about a player to be able to effectively help them. So I think the way that they're doing it is to kind of like, hey, you guys lead the way, and we'll kind of fill in some of the gaps where it's needed. Is the best way to do it. Best way to go about it.
Let's talk about this lineup for a second, because, they brought in some good pieces from a rotation standpoint. They're getting some guys healthier, which I think is great. And so you now have, and the way everybody's been hitting, I mean, you got guys now on the bench. You got guys that might be spot starting now. And as the lineup changes throughout, over time, over these next couple of weeks, like, Craig Stammen does have to shuffle the lineup around. He's trying to look for the best matchups. Does that mean tough conversations with his players? Ben and Woods asked him about that.
I lost the clip. Which sorry.
Does shuffling the lineup mean tough conversations with guys? Uh-oh.
I'm not seeing that clip.
No.
I got all of them.
Did he label it something?
He might have done.
No, there it is. It's on the email. Does shuffling the lineup mean tough conversations with guys?
Hold on, let me go back.
Oh, my God. What a foul.
I didn't get it.
Stadium pulse is so high right now.
Yeah.
Stadium pulse is through the roof. You're like SMU playing in Happy Valley right now. Just absolute meltdown in terms of the stadium pulse.
All right, I got it.
We got it? All right,
Yes,
here we go. Here it is.
Yeah, there has. And I think the biggest part of it is they all want to win, and they'll do anything to win. And I think just being truthful and honest and upfront sounds really easy. It's more difficult than that, but that's the way to do it. That's the only way I know how to do it. And if guys don't like it, you continue to have that conversation, and they continue to talk through it. You hear their point of view, they get to hear your point of view, and then in the end, we talk about how are we going to win as a team. And when that ends up being the basis of the conversation, usually things work out real well.
So weird. The clip was in the middle of the group, and it wasn't there.
Disappeared. We got a couple more that we want to play from Craig Stammen. Jackson Merrill's, has had a great second half resurgence. Obviously there's new challenges for a guy like Craig Stammen. And right now the other big challenge I think for Craig is trying to get guys off their legs a little bit and keep them fresh for that final push of the year. When you got a guy as hot as Fernando, it's hard to do that. So there's a lot of those clips that we want to get to still. We're going to get to that when we come back. Continue what Craig Stammen was talking about with the morning show here on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Sports Station 97 through the Fan. Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, Santa Cruz Number Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Talking a lot of Padres baseball today. And as we talk more Padres baseball, we got to get back to our clips from the manager's report, which is brought to you by SDCCU. It's not big banking, it's better. Some interesting conversations with Craig Stammen on the morning show about the offense before we get to Bernie Wilson later on in this hour. Jackson Merrill's had a great second half resurgence. And the morning show did ask Craig Stammen about what has made Jackson Merrill's second half so important, but also how has he been able to do it?
I see some freedom. Freedom in his swing, freedom in his thought. He's just going out and playing baseball like he knows how to be, what he's done his whole life. And he's a streaky player. We have a lot of streaky players on our team. Baseball's a streaky sport. And so eventually these guys were going to get hot. And now we're seeing them get really hot, and that's been right at the right time, and we needed it. And he's won a few games for us here lately, which is, pretty amazing, and just speaks about how great a player Jackson Merrill is.
Been a huge pickup for this team. Him in the second half. Like, it's almost like a trade deadline picking up a guy like you went from like sophomore slump Jackson Merrill to back to rookie of the year candidate Jackson Merrill, around the All-Star break, which is huge news. But in terms of challenges, obviously, Craig Stammen has made it through with this Padres team through a very difficult part of the schedule. And now, as they have now claimed a playoff spot, got to try to keep it for the next 40 games or so. What's the biggest challenge now that Craig faces at this point in the season?
I think the biggest thing is, one, staying out of the players' ways a little bit when they're going hot like this, and not trying to do too much, but just to let them play baseball and keep the good vibes and the smiles and the energy that they're bringing to the ballpark every day. But I think, number one thing is I just got to be their biggest fan. I've got to be an encourager. When they come to the dugout, they shouldn't be feeling an enemy. They should be feeling someone that's on their side. And that's what I want them to feel. When they come to the dugout, it's a safe spot to where they're going to be pumped up to go be at their best. And I think continuing to do that. And then the other part is like, we've fought back. We were way behind. And not that these players don't look at the standings, but, fighting back and getting in front of some of the teams, and now being in a playoff spot if the season ended today is not being complacent with that, but continue to push and play with the energy, their sense of urgency that we've had over the last couple of weeks.
I think that's all very important. Obviously not getting complacent. And I don't think they are. I mean, we talked about this with Bob Scanlon yesterday. I don't think anybody on that team is complacent right now for what they've been able to accomplish. I think they know that they have to put the pedal to the metal, especially after seeing like Philly won yesterday. Keep the pace up for the San Diego Padres. Now, another challenge I think for Craig Stammen, and the morning show asked them about it as well, is like they have to manage. They want to keep these guys as fresh as possible. I think a lot of it goes back to last year when Manny Machado just seemed like he was running out of gas at the end of the season. He was playing almost every single day. The guy likes to post every day. That's fine. But you want to keep your players as fresh as possible for October and for the final push of the season. And it's hard to do that while you're in a playoff chase. So you got to find spots to really give guys days off. How difficult is that to give a guy like Fernando a day off right now?
Right. Like I'm with you guys. I wish he could play 162, and sometimes these guys can. And I think this is a conversation, with a lot of these guys throughout the last 2 weeks in this stretch of 26 and 27 games coming out of the All-Star break is, how do we keep you guys fresh for the stretch run? But how do we keep like pushing and winning when we're a little bit behind the eight ball? It's like, it's one of those things. I asked advice from several people, and it's, some I agreed with, some I was like, I don't know about that. And, that's ultimately we came to the decisions that we did, talking to the players and getting feedback from them and trying to, read their body language and read their energy levels and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I understand completely what everybody's thinking. And hopefully Fernando was, got most of the game off. It gave him a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a mental break, and then he had the day off yesterday. So the double day off is kind of a strategic move to get him to be ready to play the next 40 games, and I don't, unless something crazy happens, I see him playing, most of all those games.
With that, and being able to give guys a day off, it gives you, and this team has already had it, but it gives you a flexibility off the bench. It gives you more flexibility off the bench, and it definitely impacts this team, and it impacts what Craig Stammen's able to do. They asked him about how it's like to have some flexibility off the bench.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We've gotten contributions from everybody up and down the roster, guys we've picked up, after being DFA'd, guys that we've called up from AAA. It's been a team effort on that end, and some of those guys have kind of carried us for a little while, honestly. And now we got the big boys hitting. Now they're complementary pieces, and we're able to give those guys, a day where they can DH or an off day, like Fernando kind of had the other day. So, it's nice that you have a complete roster like that. AJ's done a great job giving us a team that is ready to compete and that can win.
Couple more things left that was asked of Craig Stammen. Or actually one more. And a lot of it has to do with Joe Musgrove, who's making a rehab assignment today. He's making a start today for El Paso. And the Chihuahuas have already tweeted out photos of him warming up on the field and, getting some extra light toss in today in El Paso. But what do they have to do with Joe Musgrove when he comes back? Are they going to ease him into a role? Are they going to just let him go? Here's what Craig Stammen had to say.
Probably a tough conversation, but it's also one of those that we're having that conversation to show him how much we care about him in the long term, not just in the present moment.
Sure.
Because I think if we were just haphazard and, hey, we need you right now, we'd bring him back already, and he'd pitch 4 innings for us.
Right.
And then we'd go to the bullpen like we have in the past. But I think, showing him that, hey, we got time for you to get to where you need to be championship caliber Joe Musgrove, that gives us the ability, to bring back somebody that's ready to go for the playoff hunt. And that's probably the biggest advantage of having Joe, is we know what he's like when he takes the mound in a playoff game or in a game that matters for the Padres. And you get a different level of what he's got. And so that's what, hopefully we're getting to with this rehab process. He's been great on it. He's feeling great at the moment. Today's another big hurdle, to go a little deeper in the game. And then, we'll reassess it after that and decide what the next steps are. But, I think we're all very excited about where Joe's at, but we're also cautiously optimistic, that he can come back and be the person that we expect him to be.
He's going to pitch tonight for El Paso. I think it's a very, very much another big rehab start for him. I like the fact that he's been able to, pitch every, it seems like every 5th day right now, twice, once for Lake Elsinore, once for El Paso and Reno. Again, we don't really care about the results as much as how the process is and how he feels after that. But I'm curious to see how many pitches he throws tonight for El Paso. I think this is very important. I think this adds to your starting rotation a little bit. And, I think this really elevates this team. It's almost like he picked up 3 starting pitchers at the trade deadline. And, what are they going to do with Joe Musgrove? What are they going to do with the rotation? Are they going to use him as a piggyback guy? Are they going to be able to, as Ron LaMesa asked us, how do you manage this pitching staff? I think adding a guy like Joe Musgrove makes it better for sure, regardless of what role he's in. And knowing like just how Joe is, and he's already said this, I mean, he understands there is nothing like playoff baseball, especially for him, right? Like he talked about how much fun he has pitching playoff baseball. I think whatever role they need him to do, he's going to do. And I think adding a guy like Joe Musgrove is like a utility type piece, maybe a starter to get you some innings, maybe a piggyback player. Maybe they pair him with a Walker Buehler or Randy Vasquez or maybe the left-hander and Kyle Hart. I think there's a lot of things you could do with Joe Musgrove that helps you win, but it's definitely a great sign of improvement for this team. And I think he needs to be able to, get an opportunity to throw he's got to get some major league innings in before they get to October. So hopefully everything goes well tonight for Joe in El Paso. Hopefully he feels good and hopefully he's being added to this roster sooner rather than later. When we come back, we're going to take a deeper dive into Aztec camp. We're also going to talk a little Padres baseball with Bernie Wilson our guests when we return on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, setting us up on Sports Station 97.3. The Fan. We are joined now on the SDCCU Fan Hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. The owner of Clubhouse Pizza, the one, the man, the myth, the legend that you've seen multiple times, on social media, the big Idaho Vandal, the biggest fan for Idaho Vandal football, this side, or should I say, this side of the state line in the state of California, resident of El Cajon, love taking scenic shots of the box as well as his cat. Does a great job, obviously covering local sports, but doing it here for a long time, formerly with the AP. Pseudo-retired, not really. He's got, he does a lot of different things out there. He couldn't quit it. Or maybe he just needs some beer money. His name's Bernie Wilson. Bernie, thanks again for joining us. We appreciate it. Now, on the Aztec beat a little bit for SI. We're going to talk a little Aztec football here in a second. But as the owner of Clubhouse Pizza, what's your favorite pizza that you tell folks that make the call to order Clubhouse Pizza? What's your favorite pizza you like to throw out there, Bern?
Bro, first of all, hello from the box, and thank you for that intro. I should hire you as my agent. The Clubhouse Pizza bit started when we were cooped up in the double wide and then triple wide Charger trailer all those years. We listened to a lot of Jerky Boys and, answered our phone, Clubhouse Pizza, and a sausage is my all-time favorite, bro. I mean, sausage pepperoni works just as well. But I'm a creature of habit, so I would say sausage out the door from Clubhouse Pizza.
I love the Clubhouse Pizza bit. It kills me every single time. And I was disappointed that Frank didn't get the full experience, Bernie.
Well, you know what? I'm watching a Little League, the Midwest Region Championship, and my mind was, trying to figure out which one of these ball squads is going to move on to South Williamsport. So, Frank, sorry about that. If you want to call me back, I would answer Clubhouse Pizza, but maybe that will be next time.
We're in preseason mode right now, Bernie, and I know with the NFL, and you're not covering the NFL, but there's so many great stories that I get to hear you talk about in the press rooms, the media rooms, wherever they may be. And I'm sure you could do an entire hour podcast on some of the best stories of covering the Spanos family and Charger football. But as you look back and probably are excited that you don't have to sit through preseason football training camp pressers, for some people that might want to go down memory lane, what's your favorite preseason story that you can tell us, that you can clean, tell us on the radio airwaves, if you will, of covering the Chargers when they were here in San Diego?
Well, first of all, it's exhibition seasons because they're exhibitions. They try to say preseason, but they're meaningless exhibitions. Except for the third and fourth string guys who need to win a spot on special teams, whatever. I would say it would be 2013. I think we're in the new triple wide trailer then. Ball coach McCoy was entering his second season ball coach in the Chargers, and it was August. I also covered the America's Cup, and there was a big scandal because Larry Ellison's crew got caught cheating in a America's Cup preliminary thing, and so I was writing that from a distance. And ball coach was supposed to come into the Voodoo. Well, the Voodoo Lounge is our little room, into the triple wide at 12:30, and I had a 12:15 call with Russell Coots of Oracle Team USA, which trained here for the 2010 America's Cup, as some people might remember. And so I was transcribing another interview on an old school tape recorder, getting ready to talk to Russell Coots. And at 12:15, Bill Johnson, the longtime PR guy for the Chargers, walks in and says, "Coach is here." And it's like, Coach is supposed to be at 12:30. But the NFL, when Coach is here, you jump because that's how it is. And so we all dutifully tootle out to the big room. And, my tape recorder, I couldn't rewind it real quick. So I put my iPhone down. And, you're lurching around from one thing to another. And I had spaced that Russell Coots, 5-time America's Cup winner, would be calling me. And so about 2 minutes into ball coach's soliloquy, you could hear this buzz. At least I had it set on buzz. And ball coach looks down and goes, Russell's calling for someone. I thought I told you guys to turn off your phones. And it just became a hilarious thing. And I did a mea culpa. I said, sorry, bro, my bad. But if you would have showed up when you were supposed to, that wouldn't have happened. And so I think one of the radio stations in town one of the shows made that their bit. Russell's calling for someone. So that's the perils of being an AP scribe. You're multitasking, and sometimes these things happen. And just real quick, because I know you want to talk Aztec football and Cathedral Catholic football. We thought about being really mean, and his wife's name was Kelly, get a burner phone and have a phone book entry for a Kelly and dial that 2 minutes into his newser. And so he'd look down and say, Kelly's calling for someone. But we might have gotten in trouble for that one. But don't think we didn't think about doing something like that to the ball coach.
I always love the one, of course, is like, is so-and-so available? You'll know when he runs out on the field on Sunday. That's always great.
When you look out on the field Sunday and you see him, Braden, you know he'll be available.
We're talking with Bernie Wilson on the SDCCU fan hotline. All right. I told you, I don't want to get into Aztec football, but this came up, and I don't know if you've seen it, but I do, as a scribe that you are, that has done this a long time, has done a very good job the entire time, that, you're probably glad you don't have to deal with some of this new BS that gets thrown out there. Did you see what's going on in Colorado for the Buffaloes and what they're doing for the media? So you're not, I don't have to inform you what's going on there. I want to know what Bernie Wilson would do if you are in charge of the Colorado beat and you got given that email about how to cover their team.
I would, if I were the sports editor, I would immediately call the athletic director and the university president and ask them to explain it. Then, and if you didn't get anywhere, then I would remind prime time. Didn't they win like 2 games or something last year?
They went 3-9 last year.
Oh,
Bernie.
3-9.
And one of them was against Delaware.
Okay, so 3-9. They won one fewer game than my beloved Vandals. We struggled to a 4-8 record, but and then it's like you guys were 3-9. Maybe focus on your end of the business and not what some scribes are doing. I mean, that's, what I read through it, and it's, there's most media regulations are like that, whether it's college or pro. You can't report on formations, injuries, etc., but you can certainly ask about them afterward. But this one just seemed to go a little bit over the top. And then the next question is, are there guests at practice standing on the sideline or sitting in the stands, and are they beholden to the same regulations? Because there have been instances of teams putting their thumb on the press, yet there's open, a public practice where fans are free to take pictures and videos. I mean, it reminds me of the old days under John Butler at the Fortress out there at Chargers Park. They shut down practice, but, in accepting a free building from the city of San Diego, meaning we all paid for it, they built it at the base of a hill that we named Mount Butler, and we just go, there's a parking lot up there, and we would go up to the parking lot and watch practice. And we were free to report whatever we wanted to, whether, I can't even remember who the running back was back then. Oh, got a guy named LaDainian Tomlinson, of course. LT ran 3 times to the right and then 4 times to the left. And, we were free to do that. And they, of course, then got their dander up and started posting a security guard up there. And it's like, dude, this isn't your property.
Right.
And they would say, we're asking you to not report on that. And it's like, basically, what you can do with that, bro. It was, I believe, it might have been the sheriff's department parking lot. And them being a bunch of big babies, they probably went and whined to the sheriff. And anyway, it was good fun for a while, and at least we forced them to use resources to, at least try to interfere with our jobs. And then they were so insignificant those years that at a certain point it was, because you had to drive down to Arrow Drive and make your way up around. So at least we got under their skin. And to this day, the three of us have won as many Super Bowl rings as they have.
That's 100% true.
Yeah. So I guess that's where we left it when they moved to Orange County and then Inglewood.
We're talking with Bernie Wilson, who is now on a new beat covering San Diego State Aztecs football for SI. A little bit of beer money on the side there, Bernie, for this, but you're doing a great job and getting some articles out there for a lot of content for Aztec fans. What's your initial report from camp on this Aztec team? Obviously, they got picked to finish second in the new Pac-12. But based on what you're hearing and what you're seeing, what can you tell us about Aztec football and how camp's going?
Well, I would think camp is going swimmingly right now because we haven't heard reports otherwise. They have a public scrimmage tomorrow, 5:30 at Snapdragon. But fans need to reserve their tickets online. And, beyond that, yeah, they've been picked second. I guess it's exciting that they're in the Pac-12, but, I'm 68 years old. I remember the Pac-10 and then the Pac-12. I probably remember the Pac-8. This isn't my daddy's Pac-12. It's not even my wife's Pac-12. She went to USC. It's not my son's Pac-12. He went to UCLA. It's good for them that they're moving up in stature, but SC's not in it, UCLA's not in it, Washington, Oregon, blah blah blah. They're not considered a power conference yet. I don't know what it's going to take, maybe 2 or 4 more members, I don't know. They still have a shot at getting into the college football playoff if they're, I believe, the highest ranked team from and I think it's still the group of 6. But, it's good for them. They are picked second, and, the very hated Boise State Broncos are picked first. The Techs beat them last year. The Donkey Tech, as we Idaho Vandals call them, were without their quarterback, but they ended up winning the Mountain West Conference. So I guess that's a long explanation, a long way of saying, let's see how the games turn out, because that's why they play the games. But they do have the juice of finishing 9-4. They lost a lot of guys. They got a lot of Cathedral Catholic guys back, or at least 2 huge Cathedral Catholics. See how generous and caring I am.
So much.
A saint's dad pumping your Cathedral Catholic Dons, and I'll let you name them because you've got the pride of having coached at least one of them, right? Maybe both of them.
Both of them, Lucky Sutton and Tana Latuli.
Yeah, and good for Lucky. He he probably could have sold himself down the NIL road after his Mountain West leading breakout season last year, but he decided to stay with his hometown team for his senior year. And it sounds like Tano's a swell guy. So, they're doing things right there in Carmel Valley.
Absolutely. I do got to ask this question, Bernie. You've been here a long time in San Diego, and you've seen a lot of Aztec football, obviously in the past. And there's, they did have, full crowds when Marshall Faulk was here, and they had some good years mixed in. They've always had solid years, but they've never been in like a power conference. And this is more of like the future of Aztec football. If they were to, and we're going to get another conference realignment here in the not so distant future. Is it more about the opponents that might roll in if they were able to join a power conference more than just power distinction? And if you think let's just hypothetically, if they were able to join a power conference like a Big 12 or something like that, do you think that would save Aztec football here in town? Do you think people would actually have more of a draw because they got the new stadium? They've been a lot better, but at this point, it still seems like it's who they play that really dictates whether or not the city of San Diego gets involved. What's your experience in seeing this team over the years, and do you think that is what would make it move the needle at all in town?
That is a great point, bro. Maybe they should hire you as their, I'm not sure, promotions director or what the title is out there. But to me, I've lived here 35 years, but I'm a non-native. When I first came down here, I was intrigued with who the opponent was. And I think as a fan, I would be more inclined to go see him play like a UCLA or Arizona, a team like that instead of Colorado State or Wyoming. They've been saddled with some, bad conferences. There's a reason why only 5 Mountain West teams moved into the new look Pac-12. So it's going to be like Mountain West on steroids. But yeah, to me, a lot of the equation is the opponent. And I hate to bag on them too much, but back in the 90s, they sold what was supposed to be a home game at Qualcomm Stadium against Ohio State. They sold it back to the Buckeyes, who were the defending national champions, for $1 million. Instead of having the Buckeyes come out here, they would have sold the place out, given the fans a look at the defending national champion, but they sold it back to the Buckeyes for $1 million. Now, where I come from, the hardscrabble mining region in North Idaho, there were brothels. So that's sort of prostitution in a way, where you sell yourself to make some money. But, the history of Aztec football is littered with things like that. And if they could get into a bigger, better conference, then there would be big time teams coming in here, including your Horned Frogs, correct?
That would be correct, Bernie. But I go ahead.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. There's just something unappetizing about, seeing some of these teams year after year after year. And granted, it's the leagues they've been stuck with, the Wacky Whack and then the Mountain West. Your Horned Frogs used to be in the Wacky Whack in the Mountain West, and then they pulled the ripcord and got out. So, maybe that'll change over the years, but who knows?
Yeah, I think at this point, it just feels like it would be a lot better to play. Even the lower level of like the Big 12, it's like having UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati roll in still seems a little bit more appealing than watching Texas State, Washington State, and Oregon State roll through here.
Yeah, and you might get better attendance just from those fan bases. If it's later in the season, who doesn't want to come to sunny San Diego in late October or November when it's starting to get snotty pretty much everywhere else? But again, maybe you can moonlight as some bigwig in the Aztec athletic department and get working on that.
Well, if I do that and I get a big salary, Bernie, I'll hire you to be my assistant so we can have some beer money. We'll talk about the progress out in the box.
We'll go over the two deep while watching a sunset in the box with our cat wandering around.
Yeah, you know what? That sounds like heaven, Bernie. If it's a lot close to Iowa like that.
We are closer to Iowa, and I think Iowa just beat Wisconsin to go to South Williamsport. So, but anyway, and don't forget the state benefits if you get hired at San Diego State. Those things apparently are sweet.
Looking forward to it. Bernie, I appreciate the time. Always good catching up with you. We'll have to do this soon.
Anytime. We'll see you down at the ball yard, I guess next week maybe.
Yeah, sounds good, bro. We'll see you then.
All right, muchachos. Hermanos.
I'm Bernie Wilson joining us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking, it's better. I think it's mostly about who they play. $1 million. Can you imagine, did they not think they were going to make that? Playing Ohio State at Qualcomm Stadium? Sometimes the incompetence of the academic world drive me insane. When we come back, we had some NFL football yesterday. I'll update on NFL training camps. We'll talk more Padres baseball later on the next hour. Plus, Drake Hills will join us to finish up the show. Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. We got a lot to get to still on our training camp report with the NFL. We're going to get to some soccer talk. We're going to preview Padres and Guardians in just a little bit. But before we move any further, we have a lineup. Oh, fire it up, Frank. We got ourselves a lineup in Cleveland. Of course, we got a lineup in Cleveland. You want to know why? The game's earlier today. So we got the game notes like super early today as well. So
it's almost like you're playing on the East Coast.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, like as soon as the show started, we already got the game notes. It was great. All right, here's the lineup that we got today against Cleveland. Leading off and playing right field, Fernando Tatis Jr. Batting second and playing second is Jake Cronenworth. Batting third and playing third is Manny Machado. Ty France bats cleanup and plays first base. Jackson Merrill bats fifth and plays center field. Luis Campusano bats sixth and is the catcher. Gavin Sheets bats seventh at his DH. Batting eighth and playing shortstop is Xander Bogaerts. And guest on Gwynn and Chris today, batting ninth and playing left field is Luis Rengifo. Luis Rengifo bats ninth and plays left field for the San Diego Padres. So that is our lineup for today. And we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. But it is time to get to our NFL training camp report. We did get some games yesterday that we'll quickly talk about, but also what to watch for during the preseason action tonight. Let's get to it. All right, Frank, what do we got going on in the NFL?
You want to do the games or the camp report first?
Let's do the games first.
All right, so the games last night. Let's get to those here. Interesting couple of games last night for sure. As first off, Joe Burrow already looking in mid-season form, laying on his back in the middle of the turf. Cincinnati does, however, win that game over Detroit 16-14.
Yep. Moving on. I mean, the preseason games, Joe Burrow, you're going to see a little bit of action. You're going to see, some, as Bernie said, they're exhibitions. They like to call it the preseason. They're exhibitions. That's what we got with these. I didn't watch any of that game. I watched a little bit of Arizona and Vegas. New England and Indianapolis were on earlier today. Pittsburgh beating up on Green Bay is what it is. Looked like a Mike McCarthy team. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, Pittsburgh beats Green Bay 28-9. Cardinals beat the Raiders 27-14. Chargers over the Texans 27-7. Titans over the Niners 19-13. And the Colts and Patriots both kiss their sister with a tie 13-13.
Nice ad there. Overall, I mean, here's how I view preseason football. It doesn't mean anything in terms of like who wins and who loses, right? It doesn't mean anything. It's just you're looking for guys that are competing for spots to help special teams out, see if your offense is in a rhythm, if you got your best players in there, right? I mean, I wouldn't take too much away from it. I think the Arizona-Vegas game was pretty good. Got to see Jacoby Brissett play a little bit. Fernando Mendoza looked really good and made a lot of tight throws in his limited action after Kirk Cousins started the game.
Got a touchdown as well.
For the Raiders, threw a touchdown pass to my guy Besh, TCU Horned Frog. But Mendoza looked pretty good in the preseason. Now he's going against like some backups, but it's good to see him build some confidence in that first game. So not too much to take away from preseason football, but there are some things to watch for tonight in some preseason football.
Yes, Broncos playing the Falcons tonight. Bucks at the Jets in East Rutherford. Dolphins taking on the Commanders. I wonder if the Dolphins get a field goal and a safety, would they put the score up as 4.9?
Make a joke out of that with the thing. I by the way, like Jaden Daniels getting cooked everywhere right now. Like everybody's cooking him. Like even StubHub cooked him this morning. I mean, think about that. This is like, it goes back to that conversation we had again with Jaden Daniels about the hill. This is the hill you're choosing to die on, right? This Hill, you decided. By the way, if they just gave Pickett the number 5, which they did, and he didn't say anything about it, there might have been maybe 2 people like trying to stir the pot and be like, "Oh, I thought that was Jaden Daniels' number." Nobody would notice nor care. They asked Joe Burrow about it. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Joe Burrow was like, I don't really have a lot of information on this like whole ordeal. They kind of told me that they weren't gonna use my jersey, but that doesn't, I don't really get into that.
He kind of won him a
national championship. But if they gave 9 to somebody,
the he being Joe Burrow pronoun.
If they gave number 9 to somebody, I don't think Joe Burrow cares. I don't think he cares. I think it'd be water off a duck's back. He'd be like, all right, cool. Well, I guess he can wear number 9. Did you ever hear Mike Irvin's take on retired numbers?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you should be honored that they want to wear your number. Whatever. It's a stupid hill to die on. Speaking of stupid hills to die on, let's start with his team. They play the Dolphins tonight. What are we looking for in Washington?
Actually, you know what? We're not gonna stray too far away from this topic, as a matter of fact, because one of the stories where the preseason game itself isn't necessarily the one we're watching. The Commanders lost left tackle Laramie Tunsil, and now they're asking Brandon Coleman to protect Jaden Daniels' blind side. So the question for Washington: Can they protect Jaden Daniels well enough to allow him to take the next step?
I don't think Laramie Tunsil is a replaceable piece. I think you're losing a lot of protection and production out of a guy like Laramie Tunsil. But here's what you need to know about Brandon Coleman. He has already started 18 games at left tackle in his career, including playoff games. Washington believes in him enough that they're currently not looking outside the organization to fill the void. Daniels does have some mobility, so he can help mask some of the protection problems. And a good quarterback can make an offensive line look a little bit better, especially a guy that's mobile. So I'm not going to say that they're not going to miss a beat without Laramie Tunsil. I think it affects the Commanders, but I think they can keep him upright enough where it's not going to be a massive loss. But it definitely puts it behind the 8 ball if they lose another lineman. And that's what, losing lineman is never great, especially somebody like Laramie Tunsil. But again, here's what they're not going to replace Laramie Tunsil, and they don't need Brandon Coleman to be Laramie Tunsil. They need Brandon Coleman to just be good enough so Jaden Daniels can move around a little bit and make some plays. I think it changes the offense a little bit, but I don't think it ruins the Commanders.
As long as they have 5 guys on the line, I'm sure they'll be all right.
Well, you know what? If those 5 guys are me, you, and Adam being 3 of them, I probably would matter a little bit.
They just need 5, though. Next, we'll go to Cleveland, where we've got a quarterback competition that might not actually be as wide open as Cleveland would like to make you think it is. Deshaun Watson is finally getting back on the field after nearly 2 years away, while Shedeur Sanders is waiting for his opportunity. Is Deshaun Watson actually the guy who gives Cleveland the best chance to win despite his lengthy absence?
I mean, if he's healthy and he plays anywhere close to the player that Cleveland thought they were acquiring, and I'm just talking about on field, he's clearly more experienced than Shedeur Sanders. Yeah, to me, it would be almost a no-brainer. And we're talking about on-field production. If he could be anywhere close to what he was in Houston, they traded for, like, maybe. What did you get squirreled by?
The fact that they had Mr. T dressed up in full uniform throwing out the first pitch today.
Good for him.
Mr. T in full Chicago Cub uniform, pants and all, threw out first pitch today. Right. He's going to be doing the 7th inning stretch.
But here's the thing, like Gwen and Chris talked about this. Deshaun Watson is going to start tonight, and then Sanders is starting the next game. You got some quarterback controversy. I mean, at that point, if he's anywhere close to what he was in Houston and he's healthy, then yeah, he should be the quarterback moving forward. We'll see what happens. And the thing is like the preseason starts will be a nice look, but you can't over-evaluate the results in preseason football.
Next up, we go to a team that is known as the Bears. Everyone wants to talk about Chicago's offense, and there are plenty of reasons to be excited about it. But we're looking at the other side of the ball here. The Bears have been absolutely hammered by injuries in the secondary. So the question being, can Chicago survive this defensive backfield situation long enough for the offense to matter?
If they have a good pass rush, they can survive this. But if they don't have a good pass rush, it could get ugly fast. Who else has a problem with the secondary right now? San Diego State, right?
Yeah.
They have a brand new secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Secondary injuries cause like a domino effect. You start moving guys into different places. You got to work on communication. Less experienced guys get exposed in the secondary. If you don't have that great of a pass rush, and they have to rush a little bit longer because of the secondary, and it's just actually it's the other way around. But if the secondary can't cover in like small time frames, the teams going against the Bears can get the ball out quick, and if you don't have a good coverage early, it's going to be a problem. So I think it's going to make things difficult unless their pass rush is just awesome. But if your offense is scoring like 27, 28 a game, but you're giving up 30 a game, you're in trouble. So I think you should be a little worried about the injuries in Chicago with the secondary.
I would agree as well. All right, now to the Vikings, because there really isn't a quarterback controversy anymore. The Vikings have named Kyler Murray their starter, and now the question is, what happens with J.J. McCarthy? He's still only made 10 starts. His value hasn't quite taken a hit yet, and there are already questions about whether Minnesota could move him. Should the Vikings try to rebuild McCarthy's value, or should they trade him?
I think they should keep him still. I mean, he's only had 10 starts. I thought he was kind of a system guy at Michigan. I mean, he had a great run game and a great defense. He had a great team, but he's still young. 10 starts is very tiny. I think he's, somebody that you have obviously invested draft capital, money, and effort into. And quarterbacks can develop within year 2 to year 4. And if you got a guy in Kyler Murray that can take the reins and let J.J. McCarthy improve and get better behind the scenes, that's usually a recipe for success. Who's to say, Frank, that you can't do that with a guy that has already played some games?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you would do the same thing if you just drafted J.J. McCarthy this year, right? So I think it's probably worth keeping him around. He had the injury in his first year, which kind of put him behind the 8 ball. So, I don't think it's time to trade him yet.
Final one. We'll go down to the Dolphins.
Ello's Dolphins.
Yes.
Do you think he's fired up for the game tonight?
We can ask him. There's one position group that tonight could actually give you something interesting. The Dolphins have a wide open competition at receiver, and somebody has to emerge as Malik Willis's go-to guy. Who do you think will become Miami's number 1 receiver?
All right. So we have Malik Washington, Caleb Douglas, Jalen Tolbert. I don't think it's going to be the 3rd round rookie pick in Caleb Douglas. I know he's been one of the standouts at camp, but I think maybe he'll be. I don't think that would be the case. I think usually when it comes to preseason, he's going to find some help early in the year with a veteran. So I'm going to go with Jalen Tolbert. Veteran addition, more experience than younger options. I mean, he could win the job through consistency, but they don't have a lot of, super big weapons down there in Miami. But I think right now in terms of number 1, like where Malik Willis feels comfortable, his go-to guy, probably going to be more of a veteran player. Could be Malik Washington because he's already been in the building and he knows the offense and he can establish himself as a reliable option, but I don't think it's going to be the rookie quite yet. When we come back, a preview of Padres and Guardians for this weekend. We already have a lineup out. We mentioned it earlier. We'll repeat it, and then we'll get to Drake Hills. 124 on a Friday. Do we have tickets to give away? Zach Top tickets.
We do.
When we end this segment, we're going to be giving away Zach Top tickets. Zach Top will be performing at Pechanga Arena on September 17th. You can get your tickets now at AXS.com.
I'm a very, very happy boy after what we read this during the break.
Excuse me? Oh, with that stuff?
Yes.
Who is that coming from?
Jordan Bianchi, who is a writer is a NASCAR writer for The Athletic. A lot of things are coming out about the NASCAR schedule now for next season. It's not official. They have not announced the schedule, but there are a lot of things that people are getting from the schedule. A lot of it being races that won't be in the chase next year compared to this year. But one of the highlights in the article was San Diego. And they said that it is becoming increasingly unlikely that NASCAR will not be back in San Diego for 2027. But the race may be moved from June, Father's Day weekend, to around this time of the year, around August. So it's sounding like NASCAR will be back next year.
That's according to a report in The
Can't
Athletic.
wait. Yes.
Yeah, that's not surprising news to me, just based on how everything looked like it ran smoothly. I think while we were there, a lot of people were like, man, we should come to San Diego every year, which is always the deal. So I'm not surprised that they want to come back, especially with, you mentioned, all the teams all like the logistics of it. They liked being here. I mean, who wouldn't want to be here, right? And they get to stay in Coronado. Coronado's kind of nice. Coronado is probably a lot better than a lot of the places they stay. No offense to the other places that are on the NASCAR tour, but it's good to hear that they're back. And we'll see if there's some diminished returns, in terms of like, but I think there's a lot of people, Frank, that watch NASCAR in the Inland Empire that this is a way for them to get and watch NASCAR.
I would also not be surprised that a lot of the issues from this year, running out of food, not many shuttles because the track was gigantic, the lack of shuttles, I would assume that a lot of that will be fixed for this upcoming season. So it's first time for everybody. You're going to go through some growing pains. I would have to assume that next year that stuff will be a lot better and figured out a lot more ahead of time.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen for sure. On the they got to fix the logistics. Here's the other thing though too. How many new fans do you think they created?
Oh, hundreds of thousands.
Like my friend and my sister, they two females that have never watched NASCAR before and don't watch NASCAR on Sundays were like, I want to go to more of these. This is so much fun. Now, I don't know if they'd want to go to like an indoor track, like a enclosed track like Bristol. I don't know if they want to go to like one where it's just in circles. Maybe they just like the road course stuff. Maybe like San Diego's perfect for that. But there's probably a lot more people that went and checked it out for the first time, like the surrounding area with the shops and everything like that, like the setup, like the way it was, seeing the cars a little bit, not having it be like super loud the entire court, like the entire time and just only for a brief moment. Like there might be a lot of people like that will go back and think this is great. So I think that's good news for San Diego. Let's talk about the Padres this weekend. They got the Guardians. Obviously, every series from here on out is a big series for the Padres. They play 8 of their next 10 series against teams that are below 500, which is significant, but it's also not significant. It's significant in the sense that like it should be easier for the Padres, but as Brian Lawrence said yesterday on the roundtable, every team in Major League Baseball is good. Like you're not going to be able to take your foot off the gas. But if the Padres play at a higher level that they have been, then they should have no problem with Cleveland this weekend, and they should have no problem with the Mets next week, and they should have no problem with a lot of the teams that are coming up on their schedule. The Padres enter Cleveland at 65-57. They got a 5-game winning streak. They've won 15 of their last 19. They're currently the number 5 playoff seed in the National League wild card standings, and just a half game in front of Philly and 1 game in front of Arizona after Philly won yesterday. Fangraphs playoff odds have climbed up to 59.9%. That actually decreased from yesterday because Philly won. As for the Guardians, they're 59-63. They've lost 7 of the last 10. They have a negative 30 run differential, but they're only 1.5 games out of a wild card spot in the American League because the American League is not very good. Padres have momentum. Cleveland is desperate. Can the Padres offense continue to do what they've been doing? Should we expect the Padres offense to be this good, throughout? I think that's an interesting storyline going into the weekend. I think a lot of people might be waiting for the other shoe to drop maybe on this offense, but they have now shown, Frank, that I think they can keep this going.
Yeah, 100%. This is a team that is, like I said, Wednesday was a turning point in this season. The team has felt really good about themselves, but I think Wednesday was a turning point for the fans, feeling like, okay, this isn't just a hot run anymore. This team is actually good. This is not the May or June Padres. They have turned it around. This team is postseason ready. They are getting locked in, and they are no longer just giving away games, because that was a game, especially when you go down 1-2-3 in the 5th, 6th, and 7th. After you go down 1-2-3 like that, that was a game where they could have easily just packed it up and said, all right, well, 4-2 homestand is good too. But they didn't. They fought for the win, and they got it.
The offense has been getting most of the attention, as they should. But we haven't said it on the show. Has it been your last couple of weeks to watch the pitching staff? Do you know what the pitching staff is doing right now?
Pitching
since
better.
The All-Star break?
Pitching better.
They are pitching better. They have a 3.59 team ERA since the All-Star break. Now, I'm assuming that a lot of that is carried by the bullpen, but it still factors in all the runs that they give up based on the starting rotation. But 3.59 team ERA since the All-Star break is good enough for 8th best in Major League Baseball. So right now, you have a top 5 offense since the All-Star break and a top 10 pitching staff since the All-Star break. And that is important because the Padres don't have to be that elite offensive team. It's not like the offense is now carrying the team. Both entities of the Padres have been playing extremely well, on top of the fact that the defense has been top 5 the entire year. Now, tonight is Michael King. This might be the best pitching matchup of the series for San Diego. King on the year, 7-8, 3.37 ERA, 3.21 ERA in 5 starts since the All-Star break. Solid. 3.56 ERA on the road, and a 0.40 career ERA against Cleveland. He has 11 strikeouts in 5 shutout innings against the Guardians last season. That's an absurdly good record against this lineup. And if you're the Padres, you obviously want King to set the tone tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you have TBD throwing tomorrow. You want to start this series off right, and you have a good opponent too in Gavin Williams. So this is a great pitching matchup that you're going to get here tonight between Michael King and Gavin Williams. You'll get Joey Cantillo tomorrow, and then Tanner Bybee will go up against Casey Mize to close out the series. If there is a game where Casey Mize is going to turn it around and you're going to start to see what Casey Mize can really do, this is it. Is a guy, he is a team that he has faced a lot, former divisional opponent. He is very familiar on how to attack all of these guys. If there is a team that he is going to get it turned around against, it will be Sunday.
Saturday's a weird one with, Randy Vasquez to be, figures to be involved in the game, but they have not announced a starter yet. Sunday, Casey Mize. We got more that we want to talk about. We'll do that in the next segment after we talk to Drake Hills. We also have tickets to give away. 5th caller will win tickets to Zach Top. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Be the 5th caller. You got tickets to Zach Top on September 17th. We'll talk to Drake Hills and continue our preview of Padres and Guardians to wrap up the show.
Quinn and Chris on the Fan.
Coming up on Finally a Friday, it's Friar Friday with, hey, he came out of nowhere. Luis Rengifo, our guest.
Listen to Quinn and Chris weekdays from 2 to 6 on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey guys, it's Woodsy. Let me tell you something. When you sign your insurance policy, for some brokers, that's the finish line. Handshake, commission, done. Then you may not hear from them again until it's time for renewal. Your business runs all year, and so do the gaps and the risk. That's why I'm introducing SuperSure. If your company has more than 25 employees, whether you're the owner, CFO, or HR manager, it can be too complex to just buy a policy online. SuperSure is the super agency built for you, licensed in every state for your business insurance and employee benefits, all with year-round support for you and your team. At supersure.com, you can access tools like Fine Print Facts, which translates your current policy into plain English so you see what's covered and what's not. Plus a business value calculator so you can estimate what your business is worth so you know what actually needs protecting. Go to supersure.com, one super agency, one powerful platform, all your policies in one place. Go to supersure.com. That's supersure.com.
Paid for by Supersure Insurance Agency, LLC, a licensed insurance agency.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Pumpkin is back, and Better Buzz Coffee is serving it ice cold. Enjoy handcrafted drinks made with real pumpkin, including returning favorites like the sweet and perfectly spiced Pumpkin Pie Best Drink Ever and Pumpkin Chai, plus new creations like Pumpkin Matcha and the Pumpkin Dream Puff Iced Espresso, all poured over ice. Who says pumpkin season can't be refreshing? Get your pumpkin fix now at Better Buzz Coffee. Life's better buzzed.
You know the feeling. It's 2 a.m. You're awake, running the numbers in your head. Payroll's coming. A client hasn't paid. Costs just went up. And you're thinking, how am I going to make this work? That's where LendSeek comes in.
That was me. I had payroll in 3 days and money tied up in receivables. I couldn't wait weeks for a bank. I went to LendSeek, and within minutes, I saw real funding options. Clear, upfront, no games. By the next day, the money was in my account. Payroll went out, crisis over.
LendSeek uses AI to match your business with the right funding, up to $5 million in as fast as 24 hours.
With LendSeek, it's not just funding, it's knowing you're covered when things get tight.
If you've been in business for at least 1 year with at least $500,000 annual revenue, apply today. No upfront costs, no prepaid penalties, because in business, waiting isn't an option. Start ready, stay ready with LendSeek. Apply at lendseek.com. That's LENDSEEK.com.
I scream. You scream. We all scream. Because Wendy's famous small classic Frosty is just $1 for a limited time. More screaming, happy screaming, summer screaming, dollar small classic Frosty screaming! But please.
1:39 on a Friday. Final segment of the Braden Surprenant Show for the week. We got Padres and Guardians coming up later on this afternoon. Gwen and Chris will take over for us in the Equal Water SoCal Padres pregame show into Padres baseball. See if they can keep the winning streak alive in Cleveland. See if San Diego FC can keep this little bit of a winning streak alive as they have won their last 2 games. They won the last 2 games of the Leagues Cup in the MLS. And to come in and break it all down for us, joining us on the SDCCU fan hotline, it's not Big Bang Banking, it's better, is our soccer analyst in Drake Hills. Drake joining us on a Friday. What's going on, man? Oh, no. Did you just hang up on him?
I didn't.
Foul.
If I did, I didn't mean to.
Foul. Apparently,
he's
Drake.
here now.
Frank does not want you to talk at all. He was like, you know what? We're cutting this guy today.
Hatred right there.
I hit the middle between the two hotline buttons, and I guess that hangs you up. I guess I don't know.
I guess
I hit both lines.
He didn't like the Northwestern comment from last week, right? We're talking about the new Ryan Field up there at Evanston. We got the canopy open. We got the safe standings for the students to come out, be ready for some Northwestern football. And all of a sudden, Frank gets into his Penn State feelings and tries to, I guess, hang up in my face. I don't know.
You know what, Drake? Both of your schools knocked off Penn State last year. I think that was some built-up aggression.
Definitely. Here I was as offering a peace offering to talk about San Diego FC, and I get it. It's mid-August. This is around the time we're talking about college football. I mean, we got the Hall of Fame game just took place. Drew Brees just inducted. This is around the time when guys start getting tired of each other, tired of practicing against each other. Hot heads are coming in, and Frank is tired of playing against his own team. He wants to go out there and knock some heads off.
And he started it with you just before he even got to say anything. Drake, we appreciate the time, as always. San Diego FC goes 2-1 in the Leagues Cup. I heard it on the drive up to Santa Ana yesterday on the afternoon show. They talked about this a little bit, but for all of us that are again new to the MLS, new to soccer, what was the Leagues Cup? How did San Diego FC do in the Leagues Cup in comparison? And what have you seen out of them as they just completed the Leagues Cup this week?
Yeah, so essentially, it's always weird. So San Diego FC, they lose the first game to Club America. We call them the Dallas Cowboys of Mexican soccer, right? They are the darlings, and it's hard to go down to Mexico City, the home of Club America, the Estadio Azteca, home of 2 World Cups, or 3, I should say now, as well as, it's really hard to play there. San Diego FC loses the first game. They win the second game against Tijuana Cholos, the third game against Puebla. But unfortunately, San Diego FC was not able to advance into the knockout stage of this tournament that pins all of Canada and U.S.-based domestic teams, including San Diego FC, with the domestic club teams of Liga MX in Mexico. And so despite having the games in hand and being able to get 2 wins, when you look at the qualification of teams in MLS that could qualify for the knockout round, after the group stage round, San Diego FC couldn't basically equal or better some of the goal differential and the point differentials of some of the other teams. So they will not be moving on. And interestingly enough, this is kind of a unique thing where in normal soccer, you get 3 points for winning a game just outright. But in Leagues Cup, you would only get 2 points if you win in PKs, and yet you would still get 1 point for even losing in PKs. So that's how other teams, whether it's MLS or Liga MX teams, are able to better San Diego FC's performance, even if they have the same results.
So as advancing in the Leagues Cup, you had Leon, you had Club America, you had Toluca, and you had Monterrey from Liga MX, and then for the MLS, Chicago, Austin FC, Columbus Crew, and Real Salt Lake. San Diego FC finished 10th in the MLS side of that. But for San Diego FC, it's good for them to get a couple of wins. Obviously, in the Leagues Cup, they're focused more on climbing the leaderboard in terms of the MLS standings, Drake. And so from that perspective, did they get what they needed out of Leagues Cup as they go in and try to resume MLS play soon?
They absolutely did. And I think Mikey first talked about it going into this game this weekend against a pretty big rival. We know what we saw San Diego FC against LAFC last year, before and after the Song Heung-min transfer, being one of the biggest stars, if not the biggest star, coming into MLS last year. Obviously the face of the Korean national team for well over a decade, the darling and the poster boy of Tottenham Hotspur in the English Premier League. Heung-min Son has come, and I think LAFC has gotten better for it. But if you just look at San Diego City's schedule, I mean, it's going to be pretty tough. I mean, I think that to end August, you got to make sure you're taking the easy points, in my opinion, from Portland. But you're going to have to go through LAFC to get there, and then you got to get your lick back. You got to be able to get some payback against Colorado at the end of the month. And then, of course, the Chucky Lozano Bowl on August 29th. So I think the intensity of the end of this year is going to be pretty interesting. LAFC in second in the Western Conference. Portland has done a little bit better, not as disappointing as the beginning of this season and last season. But with San Diego FC sitting 13th out of 15th in the Western Conference, I think this is an opportunity to start to climb. Between San Diego and Seattle, there's about a 12-point difference. Or, excuse me, there's a 3-point difference. There's a 12-point goal differential, but there's only a 3-point difference between 9th and 13th. So San Diego FC, for everyone listening, could be a playoff team literally by next week. So I think it's important that we start to focus on how can San Diego FC sneak into the back door of the Western Conference playoffs.
The other thing too, Drake, is I think a lot of people just assume near the fact that we're near the end of the summer that the MLS is running out of games and they only have a handful of games to do it. But that's not the case. I mean, they got regular season games scheduled and through November 7th. I mean, there's still 16 games left for San Diego FC. And as mentioned yesterday, Gwen and Chris, a handful of measuring sticks at different points during this stretch. Of course, I think LAFC is kind of a first measuring stick of how back you really are if you're San Diego FC. You got to go to Miami on September 20th. That might be a measuring stick game as well. You do have a club-friendly match mixed in against Tijuana to get to kind of a get-right game also, as it doesn't count in the MLS standings. But there's still a lot of soccer to be played. And San Diego FC's got, not to say that there isn't, some they need to get on have some urgency with this, but they do have some time to really make up some ground, and they're not out of it by that many points.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally. I know the Leagues Cup and the World Cup kind of made it feel like there's so much soccer that has been played, so there's only a little bit of soccer left. But yeah, we're literally at the halfway point, and I think August is so important because once you get into September, I mean, you've got some interesting games. You mentioned the Miami game. You still got to go up against Dallas and Houston. San Jose has had an incredible year, third place in the Western Conference, 10 wins on the season overall. You still got to go play San Jose again, but I think if you could find yourself in a rhythm, can you get 2 wins out of 4? Can you get 3 wins out of 5? Can you get on a run here as you go into October and ride that momentum so that when you're looking at the final 2 games of the year, you're going against Austin and Kansas City, are the bottom teams of the Western Conference. You want to make sure that those games are kind of like insurance and that you're not putting the pressure going into MLS decision day trying to get points. But I just want to revert back to the first point, Braden, and just seeing like the back end of Leagues Cup. I was very pleased to hear Mikey Bowers talking about the youth that he was able to play with and some of the new guys. You got the new Icelandic 26-year-old at right back you got from Montreal, who, he's got 8 goals in his career as an MLS player from Orlando City and in Montreal, Dan Thorlofsson. I think that's a great addition for a team that needed some veteran experience. To see him get on the score sheet against Puebla, these are the kind of things that you can take from Leagues Cup to go into the MLS second half of the season and say, hey, not only are our youth, getting their experience, but we're also bolstering the squad, getting healthy, and bringing in some guys that can lead us into what can be a very redemptive second half.
Last thing for you, Drake, as we kind of wrap up this week, obviously a big one against LAFC. What does San Diego FC have to do to get a victory?
Well, first and foremost, they're going to have to keep in mind that I think LAFC has had, one of the most threatening attacking sides ever. I mean, they just came off of a penalty shootout themselves against Querétaro in Leagues Cup. But, hey, listen, I mean, you got Denny Bouanga, you've got Heung-min Son. I mean, apart from Vancouver and San Jose, they're one of the best attacking sides in MLS. They got 35 goals scored so far this year. That's basically putting them around 3rd or 4th in MLS. And so if you're looking at it from that perspective, just got to make sure that your defense is ready to basically defend for all 90 minutes. And that's not something that they're unfamiliar with, but it's definitely going to be all about focus. Can you get a Dan Thorlofsson and some of these other guys to make sure they're playing together, make sure you're playing in unison? Think back to that FC Dallas game a couple of weeks ago before Leagues Cup. Can you put in a very sturdy performance and make this a 1-goal game in the 80th minute? I think that's the key.
Drake, we appreciate the time as always. So we look forward to talking again next week, and enjoy the weekend. A weekend of lots of sports going on. We get closer to fall.
Absolutely. You guys take care. Enjoy the weekend. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Drake Hill is joining us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. Padres tonight against Cleveland. Good matchup to watch. Padres offense versus the Cleveland pitching. Guardians pitching has been significantly worse since the break, a 4.32 ERA, which is 21st in Major League Baseball, which is a huge contrast to the Padres pitching since the break. Cleveland's offense hasn't exactly picked up the slack either. 17th best in OPS. So on paper, San Diego, better combination of offense and pitching right now. But here's the catch. Gavin Williams pitching Friday. He's coming off a 1.42 ERA over his last 4 starts and 25 1/3 innings. That's going to be the biggest challenge of the series is tonight for the Padres offense. The other thing, too, interesting, Padres are expected to face Joey Cantillo, top prospect for the Padres, one of the top 10 prospects for the Padres at the time. As they drafted Cantillo out of Hawaii in 2017. He was part of that Mike Clevenger trade in 2020. Cantillo this season, 8-7, a 3.91 ERA, 119 2/3 innings, which is a career-high workload. He had been good earlier in the season. As far as the Padres are concerned tonight, again, with the Guardians offensively, Stephen Kwan is awakening from his slumber from earlier this year. Biggest offensive threat right now, 954 OPS since the All-Star break. He's a guy who can make the opposing pitcher work, get on base, and create pressure. Chase DeLauder's got an 836 OPS since the break. Jose Ramirez, not doing great since the All-Star break, but he is an All-Star and the star of the Guardians. So I don't know how long he can stay cool. Interesting series this weekend. Padres are definitely better than the Guardians on paper, but the Guardians can still, get into a desperation mode as they're just trailing a wild card spot. For Frank Marchese, I'm Braden Surprenant. Gwen and Chris coming up next. We'll talk to you guys next week.